The 2025 Logitech G Pro Invitational Qualifying Series is brought to you by Logitech G, Motorsport Australia, The Gamesman, Playseat, OG Gear, Max Pappas Innovations, SimSpeed TV, Speed Cafe, and the Australian Sim Racing Group.
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 or MPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. We think it's much better to feel like you're actually in the game. This feeling is what drives us as we create world-class gaming chairs. Our one aim, give you a brand new gaming experience. Help you move in perfect sync with everything on screen. Make sure you're having a ton of fun. It took us decades to achieve this, and we're still not satisfied. Every day, we wake up to get better. We'll never stop designing the very best to help you be your best. When it's all said and done, our job's only done if you're in full flow and focused on your victory. May you win, and win big.
Two weeks in, 2 more to go, and one of those is going to be run and decided tonight. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Logitech Pro Invitational Qualifying Series, where we've already decided 2 drivers who are making the main game again this season, who is going to be driver number 3. And after next week, who are the remaining 21 drivers to come? We're going to be bringing you all the action live tonight. from Hockenheim in Germany. It is going to be 4.5 kilometers worth of challenging action that is going to be an absolute tire burner, and we'll have more on that as we venture through tonight's content. Hello and welcome from the commentary box. Scotty Rankin off alongside of Bo Albert and Sandman, and I'll start with you here tonight, Sandman. There was a comment I just saw over in a YouTube chat. It was bring back the 90s layout of this version. What do you reckon? Modern day layout, older layout? Which is your preference?
Mate, let's bring it back. Bring back, you know I'm a fan of the 90s, baby. Let's bring that back. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Imagine the supercars racing around on that version of this track. That would be sensational.
What about you, Bo Albert? Modern day race cars have got a ton more grip than the older ones, but those old chicanes out and through the forest, they were just something else, weren't they?
It's funny you say that. That was exactly where my brain was going. I'm like, oh, these chicanes would be pretty damn fun in a supercar because there was, what, 3 or 4 during the whole lap at super high speeds? Yeah, sign me up for that. That'll do just nicely.
Well, boys, tonight's racing action, and again, I mentioned to you, we've already decided 2 drivers who are making their way in. And it was Cody Deeth last week that made his way in. We'll be seeing him in the Pro Series, the first of the Eclipse drivers, and not the first of the Eclipse drivers that we thought would be making their way in. And Emily Jones are the 2 that have qualified there in so far. Tonight we come to a completely different layout of track, and this is what I've really loved actually about the track selection for the qualifying series this time around, is that the tracks are so vastly different. We've had a close, really technical track that doesn't reward getting offline, and the marbles played a big factor back at Motorsport. Then we had a fast and flowing track, one that's really tough on the tires, and apparently fuel strategy was actually the biggest key of them all. Tonight, a lot of stop, point, and shoot. Then you've got this fast flowing parabolica right in the middle of that first sector of the lap. 3 tracks with 3 very different styles of cars that you've got to put together, Bo.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really testing these drivers at the moment and their setups to really see what they can make happen as we get a closer look here at the Hockenheim circuit. I have to say, it's a big favorite for me. Very fun in a supercar with those big braking zones and, like you said, a lot of those point and shoot style of corners as well. In total makeup, it is about 16 corners in length, and there is some big braking zones. So I think one of the big challenges here for drivers around this clockwise layout is going to be particularly turn number 6. Can you get yourself a good run out of turn number 4, get the draft, and make that pass into turn number 6? We saw some great action in previous years of the qualifying series here at Hockenheim. I'm sure we're in for another one tonight.
Yeah, it's fast, it's flowing. It's 4.5 kilometers, 16 turns, clockwise direction. The fun fact I like about this, 2002 is when we lost that previous layout. You can still see bits and pieces of it. Down at turn number 2, well, you can see just in the top middle of that shot where the old layout ran off out into, I believe it's the Ardennes forest. And unfortunately, no longer in use that section of racetrack. But it is still out there. You can go for a nice long walk, much the same as you can go at the Temple of Speed in Monza and go and visit all the old layout there, including the banking oval racing from that circuit. But Germany, what's it going to give us here tonight? Turn number 1, think about those curbs, Sam, man. You've got to have a car that bounces nice and up over those curbs, settles nicely, because if you don't have a car that settles nicely off the ending of that one, you're onto the curb on the outside, there's a slowdown penalty out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And bouncing off curbs, it's almost in our DNA, isn't it, for supercars? Do you want a car that can bounce off curbs wherever you are? But you're exactly right. Turn 1 into turn 2, for me, the danger zones have always been turn 6 and 12. We always tend to see a lot of action through that area, especially when you've got a driver that probably thinks he can get a little bit later under brakes into turn 6. That hairpin is so much tighter than what you think. And if you get in there a little bit too hot and try to get that opposite lock on the steering wheel to get underneath someone, usually, more often than not, it turns into drama.
Another question to you, Bo. New generation of chassis. Thus far in the qualifying series, we've seen 2 engines being grenaded, and that's what's caused both of our safety cars. There's actually not been any of the side-to-side battling. We talked last week at length about how you can actually trade a fair bit of paint. Do you think again here tonight, long run down to that hairpin, that's a first gear hairpin. Do you think there's potential for another engine to go again tonight?
We'll put it this way, I distinctly remember, I believe it was Jake Maloney in last year's qualifying series in the Gen 2 car, which was pretty hard to blow up. He had an engine failure coming out of the hairpin. So I think if you could do it in the old car, we're absolutely at risk of seeing a third driver in 3 rounds with a blown engine. And it's quite interesting that that is an issue these drivers are having. It's not something I've particularly come across, but I remember back to week 1 at Watkins Glen in the official series. Heading into the carousel at Watkins Glen, there's quite a big bump on the entry there because we bypassed the bus stop chicane. And I saw throughout that week 10, 15 plus cars all blowing engines there. So these new cars, there's something about them in a few drivers' techniques, those particularly that I think are right foot braking, where they're just not engaging the revs properly or they're over revving the car on the downshift, and that's what's causing these engines to blow. So for these drivers, it's absolutely something that'll be on the back of their mind.
Well, see, I thought it was going to be one of those things that was sort of maybe come and go and we wouldn't see it again, because you're right, it was the compression right there. But Sam, man, if a safety car does come, if an engine does grenade, you've got all the information down the Logitech G Hub to tell us when might be the windows that some of these drivers can look to take advantage of that.
Yeah, well, this distance, 44 laps tonight around Hockenheim, and everyone will be thinking about lap 21. That's their key to get home. So we've seen already this year about how many things can happen throughout the season, and this is what the opportunities they've got, and this is what we like to see. When there's a little bit of flexibility with pit stops and fuel mileage, that's when it starts to get a bit interesting, because there's teams and drivers out there that will roll the dice, and we've seen that, especially in the last couple of weeks, how that has played a bit of a factor. There wasn't much of a gain as far as strategy in round 1, but thankfully there is that little bit tonight, and we'll see if that starts to become an option. Now we're going to quickly get through the Logitech G Hub tonight, because I know cars are on track for practice. We've already touched on the points and saw that earlier. Brenton Hobson and anyone here in this top 10, they're feeling quite comfortable at the moment. It's the teams from 16th to 25. These are the ones that they're going to be starting to sweat it out. Have a look at how close it is just for that cutoff. The bubble, they're tied on 200 points. So, and then back further, there's only a couple of points in it. So all of these drivers, this really starts to become a factor now, because we're halfway through. We've only got 2 rounds to go. The one thing that these guys could do to probably stop sweating about this is go and get a win, because if you get a win in this series, you get that golden ticket straight into the next round, or straight into the championship for 2025. So as much as these people will be sweating it out, that is one way they can avoid all that drama. And of course, as you touched on, Scotty, the safety car, it's almost been a game changer every week for us. It's really played a part. It's always been our star of our series so far. Good looking car on racetrack, and like we say each and every week, it can play a factor, and these teams need to have that in the back of their mind and be ready for the possibility of one of these things happening, because like you said, we haven't seen any big accidents and drama on the track. It's always come from, unfortunately, we've had engine detonations, and this is when this baby's made its appearance. So hopefully we see some great racing, and who knows whether we see this again for Hockenheim. But let's get to the track and catch all the action. Can't wait to see these guys as they battle around the Hockenheim ring.
Well, I was just going to say, mate, it's a beautiful looking car. Did you know that's the latest of the additions to the rookies for the iRacing platform? So you and me can both get out there and show again how little skill that we both have. But we'll probably wipe the floor quite comfortably with us. I mean, that's the whole reason he's in the Pro Series, right? But there is a car that fits our skill levels. There's not many of them, but they do exist.
We might have to have a quote. We might have to talk to someone and maybe get our own little short race at Bathurst, perhaps, maybe, come the Enduro time. Commentators
Mate,
Cup. How about that?
Mate, elbows out right across the top of the mountain. You reckon we can get these things too wide? I'm in. Bo, you'll be scheduled to the booth. You can call the whole thing. There we go. It's all set up. It's all ready to go.
Excellent.
Don't you love how Bo just didn't get a say in all that? He was just like, yeah, okay.
Well, I'm going to throw him under
fair,
the bus here. I've seen him race at Bathurst, so I think
No.
the commentary booth's somewhat safer.
No, let's not bring that up. No. For those of you who don't know, I brutally murdered Bo on the weekend in some racing, and apparently managed to do some deal. We will walk as far away from that as we possibly can, because there are reasons. I don't know whether they're legitimate, but I've got my racing driver excuses already banked up. The big key, ladies and gentlemen, practice is 45 seconds away from being over. We're about to get our way underway with qualifying. Remember what we said, 4.5 kilometers. Who has got the turn? Who has got the point? And the big thing will be who can get the lap out when it's done. Tonight as well, think about that big long straight that we've got here on offer for us, Bo. We've seen a little bit of the drafting games. Wasn't really played all the way back at Mosport. A little bit of the drafting games played at Fuji. Is the Parabolica straight into the Spitzkehr hairpin enough to make draft relevant around here?
Definitively, yes, because right now what I'm looking at is a headwind into the hairpin. So drafting is going to be all the more effective down that long straight. I was going to call it a front straight, but it's definitely not. And it's not even a straight. It has quite a significant kink in it. But absolutely, that is something that these drivers are going to be looking at. Get a big run down there because that is a big braking zone where you can very easily make a move. But also for the drivers defending, it's quite an easy one to defend because you can very easily open up the exit and fight the battle all the way through to the stadium section as well. So for these drivers, whether you're in front or behind, it's a place on the track you're going to be looking at every single lap when in a battle pack.
Right. Jim Clark and the memorial to him laid out in the back section of Hockenheim. The battles to get off of pit lane are beginning. And there's a few drivers that we need to say happy birthday to as well. I was talking to a few Zach Rattray White a little bit earlier on. One of the drivers that Bo will be elbows out with in the Pro Series when we get there. He wanted to pass on. We've got to rough up the boys tonight. He said, you've certainly got to call Jacob O'Reilly an older man, because he certainly is that. And Teo Serrano is a little bit of a younger man. Teo Serrano turned 28 yesterday, and Jacob O'Reilly becomes the ripe old age of 34 here tonight. So Vermilion Esports have got their birthdays in order. What do you reckon? Pole position? Is that the right birthday present? You prefer a win?
Look, I wouldn't mind a pole position on my birthday, that's for damn sure. That's a very nice way to spend your birthday, or a birthday week at least. So for those drivers, that's definitely what they'll be looking out for. But definitely a tough order with this grid, but nonetheless, a big happy birthday to both those Vermilion boys there. And hopefully the new age can bring them some good luck as well for the year ahead.
Right, here we go. Middle point of the lap as we ride on board with our current points leader in Brenton Hobson as he runs down through the arena section. For now, he'll start his lap looking to look after those rear tyres. Final corner. Swing it out to the left-hand side. Try and straighten up the exit and get the drive out. And here is where it all counts. 18 minutes on the clock as he crosses the start-finish line to start the first lap of qualifying. And this is going to come quite thick and fast here, boys, because have a look at the number of drivers filing through turn one. And it's very, very easy to pick up an off-track and that slowdown penalty on the left-hand side curbing there, and that's not something they want to do early on the session. Here's Sandman.
Yeah, it's almost hold your breath, isn't it, the first time you go through there, because you know you've done all that work with the outlap, and if you screw it up on turn one, it's like you've got to tringle all the way back to pit lane and have another crack at it, and before you know it, you're probably looking at 15 or 14 minutes left on the clock. So you burn up those laps. Ooh, a little bit of a moment there with Hobbo just coming into the hairpin there, but big shout out to Hobbo too. That camera looking over his shoulder, that's a brilliant shot because you can see everything happening as far as his wheel work, his feet, the pedals, and just the view that he's got. So that's great to add to the broadcast. So well done, Hobbo.
Look at the lights he's got set up, and that's very, very wide when we get down to turn number 8 as he tries to tip it back, and he's recognised very, very quickly that he's going to try and get out of the way of the field. You wouldn't see that in a real-life car. You wouldn't be trying to cut their way out and across. There's been some dramas at the tail end. I did hear something happen to Lachlan Capel. And something's just happened to Bradley Ratu as well. Has just been elbowed off in the middle of the sector. So the big thing from the early stages of qualifying is that a few of these drivers have already taken it to it like a race. The elbows are out very, very early on. And that's not anything that you want to be doing in the middle of a qualifying session, Bo.
No, absolutely not. You obviously want a nice, clean qualifying session with no little hiccups. Just, trundle around the circuit, get your laps in, nice and clean. No off-track dramas, no contact or impeding penalties. Just get it done, and that's the way to do it. But at the moment, the only driver who's making that happen is Damon Woods. Goes to the top of the timesheets currently, but we take a look at Wayne Burke, car 89, and he's going to abort that attempt. So not quite feeling it on this occasion. Of course, the driver that's had some pretty good qualifying performances so far this season. I believe it was second at Fuji for him as well. And of course, let's not forget, nearly won at Mosport if it weren't for a penalty there as well. But take a look at this incident on the OG Gear replay with Lachlan Capel, and you'll see Jack Wittes on the inside trying to get out of the way, but doesn't do the best job of it and massively impedes Lachlan Capel, and I believe that was Michael Taliancic behind as well.
Yep, Green Synergy car. Very likely that was indeed Talianchi. Have a look, boys. Out of the drivers that we've got in the session here tonight, and I reckon we've got probably about 41 of them. There was at least one DNF early on in the session. Have a look at them as they file down into the Spitzker hairpin. Tells the story. And you can see Wittes got out of the way very, very early on. Tried to look for a hole, and he's going to go for the hole, but it's so late in. He just had no drive yet. But the big thing that I'm noticing from that first lap is we've had less than half the field set a valid lap time. And that says to me, incident points, a little bit easy to pick up here tonight. Off-track boundaries being used.
Maybe everyone's just having a red hot go. They're keen to get out. You know, we always talk about how important it is just to put a timer, put a banker in, you know. So they've obviously made a little bit of a whoopsie. You can see just how easy it is to run wide on some of these parts of the racetrack. And like we touched on earlier, you grab just that little bit too much curb and that's a 1X straight away. So, yeah, it's not often that we see that many cars have to abort their first lap and have to dial off in the pit lane. So that was really interesting.
Have a look at more of them. Is that Taliancic back in again? So he's already aborted a second attempt. So there's a bunch of drivers here. I'm seeing so many names without a time.
Well, these in now after they've had their first run. What's happening though is that I can see there's a little bit of cloud cover come over. So this will actually help these people like we're on board with Dylan. So just watching that exit there. But when that little bit of cloud comes over, that actually benefits the drivers. So if you happen to be on a hot lap and you get some cloud cover, that can actually work in their favour and maybe gain a little bit of track time, bit of pace. So it'd be interesting to see if some of these drivers can capitalise.
We need to go for a ride on board with Tyson Broad because I tell you what, he is on a flying lap at the moment and he is coming across the entire field that have just filed out of pit lane. We talked about this last week with lap times around that minute 40-second mark. It is very, very easy to get out of sequence. And here he is. He's getting a little bit... In actual fact, the field have done a phenomenal job diving out of the way. This will be the big one. Have a look at the stack up as we get down to the hairpin. As we go on board with Tyson Broad. There is a chain of about 15, 20 cars. And he's tagged the back end of Jack Wittes.
Again.
Wittes is in a whole host of trouble very, very early on. There'll be a request to race control to have a look at that. But the thing will be, and I think this has been the standard, Bo, is when you catch a queue of cars that's 15, 20 long, you kind of can't penalise any of them really, can you?
There has been a few instances of that where the drivers that have technically impeded the driver on the flying lap have avoided a penalty due to the fact that the driver on the push lap is effectively driving full speed into a pack of cars, because there's a bit of a precedent set, I think actually in the first Logitech G Pro Invitational qualifying series at Phillip Island with Josh Muggleton, if my memory serves me right, where Muggleton was on a push lap and fired himself into a pack of cars that were all trying to sort themselves, and that caused a bit of a controversy there. So something that's been amended in the rules. The stewards obviously do a great job, listen to feedback from all the drivers and adapt to the rulebook where needed. And yeah, that's something that has come into place, and if, you know, everything is as I would assume it will go, that'll be no penalty there for Jack Wittes on that particular occasion. But I think that instance with Lachlan Capel may not go unnoticed.
Well, already one penalty has been applied. It's to the driver of the number 19, Dylan O'Shea. So time penalty of 10 seconds that he will have to serve in the race. So that'll be added to his first pit stop for impeding during qualifying. Dyson's going to dive out of the way of Hobson right there. And an update to the car 889, which I believe that will actually be Jack Wittes. Indeed it is. So he's also received a 10-second time penalty impeding. So this is the penalty that was O'Shea. We've already seen the one wide was applied to Jack Wittes. Drives out of the way very, very nicely right there as we actually watch the bottom right of his picture as well. There's a couple cars getting out of the way. Drivers in flying lap. So we'll have another go at getting that one, but I did see a number of cars diving out of the way, and she's a narrow old track, this one. There's another Synergy Sim Racing car that's driving out of the way. So this will be why O'Shea's going to get the penalty. And we're having problems managing to pick up that exact replay.
Oh, Jack Wittes again having a moment on the road there, fires off. So, yeah, definitely not the ideal for him at this stage in time as we go to look at the 092 car. And that's, of course, Jack Andrews in the lovely Ford Mustang. We'll see what he can do, Scott.
High flyer comes through and out of the arena section. And then down into the hairpin, famously where Sebastian Vettel fired off and basically lost the championship by firing off there. And finally, we do have the moment. This is what caused Dylan O'Shea. You can see he's dived onto the line. There's enough in that to say that's an impeding.
I touched on that too. That this hairpin it's going to play a factor, isn't it? You know, it's different when it's qualifying because we all know that everyone's on a different strategy. They're either coming out of the pits and they're about to start their lap. You've got drivers on hot laps, but I think these drivers really need to be a little bit more careful and keep an eye on their mirrors because already to have there's drivers like we touched on. They've already got a 10-second penalty and they haven't even started the race yet. So that's the last thing you want to do is get a penalty anytime. But when you do it in quali before the race. That makes your night all that much more difficult.
It's just a free kick, isn't it? That's the difficult part. Like, it's really difficult for O'Shea because he's got to drop in behind the car here. He can't just go barreling through the corner and drive off the outside. But
there's another one.
Anyway,
too.
That's the 889 machine. So that's Widdus himself up and the second penalty to be added. So when we look back at this one, qualifying penalties will probably be the one thing that gets sorted to. But I like what you said, Bo, as well. It's not. Stewarding's not an exact science. You can't just sit down and go, that's a penalty every day of the week. It does take a trained... You can't just send any person in to be a steward, and it's a back and forth conversation. When we look at Formula One over the last couple of years, that's been the biggest thing, isn't it? Stewarding in Formula One's become a back and forth conversation, and you want that conversation as a driver.
You do. You need to have that transparency as well, and have that back and forth and make them understand because they're not in the series obviously as driving or as a driver, so they don't understand some of the things we're looking for and what might affect us. And I have to say, in my experience with the V8 Pro race control team has been very positive. They've always been very receptive to ideas, and that's fantastic, and that's what we need because, like you say, you can't treat every situation black and white because it just doesn't work. There's so many little different scenarios that come up every now and then, just totally throw a spanner in the works. And you need those drivers or those race control people that can actually make those crucial decisions and look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Jack Widdus is probably about to get reported again for another impeding infringement. I just saw it was quite bad. Ice Hodge and Ryan Jones both caught him at the same time in the little flick-back chicane on the run to the final two corners. So might have been on an outlap. So this is him. He's on an outlap. And those two cars in behind, that's Tyson Broad, who just took it out of the way. Where'd he go? Oh, he's on a prep lap.
Yeah, but he should have almost come to a stop. Like he was almost at a stop. I know it's hard and it's easier to say it, in a commentary box. It's different when you're in the driver's seat. But he was getting out of the way. It would have been almost worth his while just to come to a complete stop. But easier said than done.
I was having a chat to the Drop Bear guys, by the way, as we're looking at you, and they said, you never talk about us, you never get our time on camera. Well, they do get their time on camera. And again, I'm going to make this opportunity of this time on camera to talk about how much I dislike the rear end of that. I love the paint, I love the idea, I love the concept. I do not like the rear end. Like the colours, it works, it just doesn't work on the Mustang. Stick it on the Camaro, I reckon it'll work really, really nicely. It is what it is.
They do have a Camaro with Tyson Broad at the wheel, and that looks a lot nicer. Like, love the livery, I just can't do the tail lights on the back of it. That's, if you get rid of the tail lights, fantastic livery, and I know the designer very well. Juan Diego Sanchez does a fantastic job, and I probably rate him as the greatest painter on iRacing. I'll go that far and say that much, but those tail lights are not it. Look at the Camaro example, though, it looks so much better.
Yeah, I like that. I do really, really like the tail end of that livery. It has something to it. And as I recently learned as well, they like to run their endurance teams under planetary body names, so Venus, Mars, Jupiter, etc. So expect to see that when we head to the GT Pro, which, by the way, entries for the GT Pro Series lock in as of Friday, which I think we're all sitting around and waiting to be unveiled as well as the evolution of top-tier Australian sim racing gets another component. Jacob O'Reilly, in the meantime, birthday boy, is looking to put the lap together at the moment, and this is down into the final sectors. He's running out of time. There's 5 minutes on the clock. So there's maybe just enough time to get one more lap started. So it's got to count this one. 41.238 is actually reasonably good. That will put him to 7th place on the overall timing sheets. And there's another name that I've just spotted. You know who's struggled in qualifying the last couple of weeks? Is Kurt Stenberg. Have a look at where he sits. He's finally home from an extended stay in New South Wales, finally home on his own sim rig, and he's back up to the top end of the time sheet. So that has certainly worked for him.
That's an awesome shout out too, because yeah, we've spoken about the difficulties of drivers that have been on foreign rigs, you know, and yet there's the difference right there. As soon as he's home and comfortable and back within, you know, back on his own rig, he's within a couple of tenths of pole. So yeah, good on you, Kurt.
I'll look at the difficulties in managing traffic. And Sean McNamara, another of those drivers. So now the field starts to fill itself out. Of those 16 drivers, we've now doubled that. We're up to 32 drivers who have set a time. And McNamara is potentially going to be one of the latest to have a crack at setting a time as he comes to the final sector. No, he's going to dive in. So he's picked up an off-track. McNamara's got no time on the board. And he has got one more. There is one more shot. So a banker. It's got to be a banker. It's too late to worry about setting the timing sheets alight.
Yeah, because even if your banker's not that great, you can still probably find yourself up 5 to 10 positions off last, you know what I mean? So you'll take that any chance. But and that's the difficulty, to have that, you know, you go into a 20-minute session not to be able to get down a lap. That's difficult. That's that tells you just how tricky it's been, and unfortunately it's in the dying stages to put all these cards on the table.
I just point out that over on the series YouTube chat that, by the way, Sam, and you've been referred to as Larko. So is that a dream finally come true for you?
Mate, I don't know how impressed Larko would be, but I'll take it. Some people have called me Crompton. Now I've got Larko. You know what? Hey, as long as everyone's enjoying the show, that's the main thing.
Oh no, final qualifying laps, 3.5 minutes on the board, and it's normally about this time we take a look up and down the sheets and we say who is doing really, really well, who isn't doing so well. The man at the top of the timing sheets was Bo's pick last week. He's on top of the timing sheets this week. Damon Woods, again, another driver that was borrowing Caleb Hyde's rig actually last week. I found out a little bit more information about that one. He's now at home on his own rig. Tao Sorono, birthday boy, sits outside the 20, needs to be inside the 20. There's a few drivers that are a lot further up in terms of the points than they were maybe hoping to be with 2 chaotic races. Does Hockenheim finally give us the stable race that we're sort of looking for? And there's been an issue for car 41 in qualifying, a penalty to Andrew Dyson, 10-second time penalty to be added to his race time. I thought it was car 31 they were referencing, but there is no car 31. It must have been Dyson as well. Dyson's qualifying is now over. I'd say that'd be a tow.
The amount of penalties that have come out in qualifying has been unreal, isn't it? The old stewards have been fairly busy. So we go to the OG Gear replay. Slide off the last turn. This is coming to the start-finish line, up in that rip strip. You just see how much the car moves. Look, the car just off the racetrack. They're just trying to get out of the way too. But it's the dying. What have we got? Just over 2 minutes to go in qualifying. And there's a couple of drivers that we've already spoken about that haven't even got a time down yet. So it's important and crucial that they get that done.
Yeah. So dying stages of the session now, and in all up, we've got 33 drivers who have set a time. We're missing one from McNamara, Widdis, Ryan Battis, Brad Ratu, Damon Mulqueen, and Anthony Visma, other drivers who have yet to set a time. Update to the penalty for Andrew Dyson. Also, will be starting from the pit lane.
Oh,
so for Dyson, he's gone from finishing on the podium a couple of weeks ago to now he's sat in pit lane for the start, and that is going to hugely impact his ability to make the field. Minute 30, Jack Witter, still no time on the board, crawls it out of turn 9 through turn 10. He'll try and build some momentum, clambers over the curb as well for good measure, using all the track. A little bit more there, Bo Albert, but that's just within the lines. It's right there, that turn into turn number 11, the Motor 1 curb. You have to use all of that road. That's how you carry the speed.
Absolutely, you have to use every meter around this circuit, and there's a few spots where you really can abuse the track limits. So absolutely, in a series like this, use every last centimeter through the final few corners there. And you can see using all the inside curb as well. You can use all of this exit curb, including the AstroTurf, power down. And what can he do across the line? He'll set a 141.6, jumps him up to P30 on the grid. But yeah, nice to see that he's using all the track there. But just seeing that might be why Andrew Dyson ended up with a 10-second penalty. And we're being told that it's not the end of the story. And oh my lord.
That's a hardware failure, if ever I've seen one.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, hope so. As well, there's actually another car off the circuit as well. Rain Campbell currently parked up, but I think he's already finished his lap, so just causing a local yellow there as Damon Mulqueen goes across the line. As we now flick over to Ryan Bettes, and he's not got a time on the board either. So once again, so many of these cars, like you said, Scott, just do not have a lap time on the board. Through this final section now for Bettes in the blackout OPR car, as the checkered flag does fall. What can he produce? Get as close as you can to that wall on the left there, turn it in, misses the inside curb ever so slightly, and now it's all about this very tight technical section. It's very cambered through here, so you can use the elevation to your advantage, get the power down and avoid that exit curb, because it does spit you out very, very quickly if you do dip a tyre over the wrong side. And he's actually he's going to board it, so he's one of a couple of drivers here that are not going to finish the qualifying session with a time on the board.
And just note as well, did you guys note all the kitty litter that was down on the run down at just after the chicane?
Yeah,
down to turn 15? And there was some on the pit lane entry then as well. So I expect that to be a little bit more as Dylan Burst goes to the top of the timing sheets. We weren't expecting to see an improvement late on in the session, but Dylan Burst is going to go out there and own the field by over a 1/10 of a second. That is a huge margin to grab a pole position by Sean McNamara. Final lap of the session, 41.8, does set a banker, and the run down to turn number 1. Ratu, final lap for him. Checkered flags in the air. What is he going to be able to set as he enters the final sector? Look at the dust that's off the line. Cars going everywhere trying to get out of the way. It's been wild. Look, the more that I see this, the more I'm thinking we might get ourselves a safety car.
Yeah, it looked like there was a car to that to the wall there. Big shout out to Kurt Stenberg too. He's in the top 5 still at the moment. Oh, Retro, did he run enough wide that he got a penalty? Or is he going to be able to continue on with this lap? Oh, sideways. Gets to the line, and does he bank a time? That was a 41.7. Does it count? 34.
Yep. And it's ahead of McNamara. Mulqueen did manage to set a lap very, very late on in the session, but it was 7/10 of a second off Sean McNamara's. McNamara's banker did count, will be good enough for 36th. He's the second last qualifier. Mulqueen, the final driver to put a time in, and Ryan Bettes and Anthony Visma both failed to get times in at the tail end of the session. My word, is it just me, or was that qualifying a lot more explosive than I thought we were expecting to see there, Bo?
No, definitely. There was a fair bit going on, wasn't there, with the drivers left, right, and center all having their little issues. But ended up being quite a close qualifying in the end for a lot of our midfield. I'm looking at from position number 5 there all the way down to about 14th. Super close times with just a couple of thousandths separating a few drivers. But yeah, some drivers are leaving that qualifying session with a couple of battle scars, that's for sure.
Certainly. Dylan Burst is going to take out your pole position. And he is going to start on the front row. And guess what? It's going to be even better than that for the Eclipse Sim Sports team, because they're going to have both positions on that front row. Another front row lockout. Dylan Burst will be sat next to the 56 machine of Damon Woods. But from there, we get back into another driver that we've seen at this end of qualifying for the second time this season. Wasn't so quick when he qualified last week at Fuji, but it's been exceptionally quick here. He'll line up alongside of Matthew Bowler, who's again managing to put some strong times together in qualifying. Kurt Stenberg has finally managed to find a turn of speed. He'll start out of 5th alongside of Wayne Burke, who'll be ruining the opportunity to book himself straight into the Pro Series from Mosport. Row number 4 is going to be Ryan Jones, who's again managed to find a whole bunch of speed in the Simrigs DPR car. Jacob O'Reilly and the birthday boy will line up to his outside. Look at that, 4 thousandths of a second to separate those two. Aiden Veld will make up an all ERT from row number 5 alongside of teammate Lachlan Capel. And again, there was only a couple thousandths that separated Veld from O'Reilly just ahead of him. Brian Borg and Dylan Pereira, 3 thousandths of a tenth of a second. 3 thousandths of a second to separate those guys off to 11th and 12th. Glenn Postlethwaite and Ben Faulkner out of row number 7 for the team boss over at Vermilion Esports. And Andrew Dyson will be qualified in 15th spot. That spot will be left vacant on the grid. He'll have to start from pit lane alongside of Sebastian Vandel, but we will get an opportunity to have a bit of a chat to Andrew Dyson from the pit lane start. Greg Favell and Brady Baldwin are going to make up row number 9 here tonight. And then in behind them, Corey Preston and Kobe Williams in the third of the Eclipse Sim Sports liveries inside of the top 10. Look at that, top 20, and look at that, less than 7/10 of a second, all the way back to 20th spot. Andre Youssef and Tice Hodge make up your 11th row of the grid. 13th row, another of the birthday gentlemen, Teo Sorono, will line up alongside of Tom Freer in Vermilion Esports row number 12. Jake Blackhall from Dylan O'Shea. O'Shea is a lot deeper in the field than I necessarily would have thought to have seen him. Blackhall will have some work to do alongside of him as well. Michael Taliancic and Christopher Ireland will be a Synergy Sim Racing and DPR Racing row number 14. Row number 15 and last cars inside the 30, Rain Campbell and the heavily penalised Jack Widders from qualifying. Boy, has he got some work to do. He's going to hope to make the field here tonight. Jack Andrews and Daniel Benefield just outside the 30. From there back, we get into Joshua Horton and Brad Ratsu. 35th and 36th is going to be Tyson Broad and Sean McNamara. 37th final driver to set a time, Damon Mulqueen. In behind him, 2 more drivers who did not set a time from the session will be Ryan Bettis and Anthony Visma. Will be the 2 we will make that up from. And boys, we've finally got an opportunity to take the first chat tonight of our drivers up and down the field. Dylan Burse, pole position here at Hockenheim. I get the feeling tonight is certainly going to be a race of track position, but you guys have done your homework on the strategies now. You think you've got everything it takes to go back-to-back in terms of getting a car through to the main game.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we don't really have the strats too locked in at this point still. I think we just played out how the race goes, but we've got a general idea now, so we just got to sort of play it by ear and hope that no safety car comes out before we pit, pretty much. So just try and get a bit lucky with that, and we should be sweet, I think.
In terms of things, the team's been going from strength to strength at the moment. Qualifying pace has been absolutely supreme in those red, white, and black machines. How much work went into the qualifying set tonight, and what does the race pace look like for this machine?
Honestly, because we're practicing for official 12-hour at the moment, not much. Like, mostly just GT laps this week, but I mean, I did a few laps last night, and then mostly just a server before this real quick, and in the server we were making changes to the dock again, so we had a race dock and then Q dock we just sort of whipped up in the server, did a few adjustments and that. So no, I'm pretty happy with it though. We've got a pretty good baseline now, so just build on that a little bit.
Mate, finally, best of luck here tonight, and do you think you've got enough to get the job done here and qualify the way in?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, need one good result, so been a bit bad on strat lately, so get one good result and I should be pretty happy. Hopefully even a win, that'd be cool. Myself or Damon. But yeah, well, I'll do it for Zog.
All right, best of luck here tonight, mate. Get your head down and get on with the job.
Cheers, bro.
And this feels like a little bit of a setup, I think. Somehow Sandman has managed to finagle his way into talking to Kurt Stenberg. How did you get this done, Sandman?
Oh, mate, you know how it happened? It happened because Kurt Stenberg did an amazing job in qualifying. P5, mate. Congratulations. Tell us about that session.
Thanks, guys. Honestly, crazy session. Cars flying off everywhere in front of me, but we did what we needed to do, and we got the lap that we knew we could get in the car done, which is a miracle. Finally happened.
Now, mate, you've had your difficulties. The last couple of weeks, you haven't even been in your own sim rig, and we've been talking about that in the broadcast. Just how difficult is it for, we touched on it ourselves about how difficult it is to jump into someone else's rig and go fast. We knew you had pace on your side, but it makes it tricky. Tell us how tricky it was for you as far as not having your own sim rig.
It's very tricky. I think the hardest thing is, like last week when we were doing the fuel saver, is knowing what buttons to press on the wheel. Like, I had to consciously think about that kind of thing. All those little 1%ers. The actual driving of the car, once I'd done 1 week in the rig, coming back the next week, you sort of just, you know what you're doing. And it doesn't feel too different, DD and high-end pedals to each other. Like, they're sort of similar. Ando's similar size to me, so it kind of worked out that way. It was more the additional stuff that was the difficult part. And look, I had no quali speed both those weeks with no prep, but in the races we managed to come forward. So Hey, everybody was telling me to adjust my ergonomics after they saw my pace at Mosport in Ando's rig. They said my rig must have problems, but I've just gone and shown everybody my rig's fine.
Absolutely, mate. It's like jumping into an old pair of slippers, isn't it, mate? You just get in, you get comfortable, and off you go. We knew you had pace on your side, and you proved it tonight.
Yep. Hopefully we can continue it in the race.
All right, buddy. We'll let you get ready, and all the best. Car looks great. Good to see you up the pointy end, buddy, and make the most of tonight, okay?
No worries, and I want to give a big thanks to Alex Bird, Madison Down, and Jake Maloney, who've been helping me on strategy so far this series. They've been doing an awesome job, so hopefully they can guide me to a good position tonight.
Good lad. All right, steady. All the best. We'll talk to you a little bit later on.
No worries. Catch you guys.
Cheers, mate. And Bo, you've got the short end of the stick. You've gone for a walk again down the main straightaway, and you've caught up with Sebastian Vandel.
I definitely have, and in the very bright pink Vermilion Motorsport car, I have caught up with Sebastian Vandel. Seb, position number 16 on the grid for tonight, but you have an empty grid slot to your left. What do you think we can do in the opening few laps from here, mate?
Well, plan's just to keep it clean and just sort of stay where I am. The first 2 rounds have thankfully taken the pressure off me for this race and maybe the next, so we'll just see what we can do.
Definitely, you're in a pretty good position in the points right now. What's the plan for the final 2 rounds? Is it a little bit more conservative just to try and bank those points and get yourself across the line, or is it still very much full attack and see what you can make happen?
We'll see how the start of the race pans out, but plan's just to keep it clean, get some points. I don't need to finish too high with where I am in the standings. So just bank some points, and next week we get a good finish tonight. We can have a crack next week.
Well, sounds pretty good, mate. Of course, the final round. How do you feel about the track there?
I'm not the biggest fan of Winton, so definitely have to put a fair bit of prep in. So.
No, fair enough, mate. Definitely going to be a tricky track in the Gen 3s. I'll leave you be, and good luck for tonight.
Cheers.
All right, well, that was the driver of the number 458 Vermilion Motorsport car. Scott, I'm going to make my very long walk back to the commentary booth. I'll hand it back over to you, bud.
I was just about to say, Bo, I'll be charging you for fitness coaching services. I think we're getting you in good shape for the start of the season. Righto, ladies and gentlemen, with 1 minute on the clock before we go into our starting phase for the 3rd round of the qualifying series. What does it look like? 44 laps. Fuel tank restricted to 70%. That's 91.3 litres for those watching along at home. Must do 2 compulsory pit stops. 200 kilometres around here, boys. Well, qualifying's in the book. I'll give you an opportunity to renege on your pick from last week there, Bo, but you're sticking with Damon?
Definitely. And I mean, when he qualifies on the front row of the grid, it's looking pretty good at the moment for him.
It's okay. I'll go ahead and be very loyal to your team, and I'll say Matthew Bowler might be on for a good shout here tonight. So I'll remind him when he wins later on that Bo didn't pick him. And Sam, anyone from you that you think is going to be able to get the job done? You're saying Stenny. I didn't even need to ask.
Well, I would, but now you've prompted that. So I'm you know what? It's going to be hard to go past any of those that Eclipse guys. So maybe Dylan. I'll go for Dylan. Dylan Burse.
Right, and if Steady wins tonight, I'll be pointing the finger at you and saying Sandman didn't pick you. Sweet, I like this. There's a lot of banter in this field before we even go lights out. Lights are starting to come on. Round 3 of the qualifying series. We are getting set for a start. Short run down to turn 1. It's narrow, it's tough, it's tricky. Who gets the drive? And he's going to line him up on pole position. Burse got no start. Sandman, he's going to get absolutely eaten alive by the pack, and Hobson goes through in a second. Woods is going to lead us down to turn 1, and Dylan Burse has gone nowhere. In comes Bowler. He slotted his way down through. Look at the pack in the background. They're tangling. I think that might have been Wayne Burke, and that might be the other Eclipse Sim Sports car that's gone around. Immediately big dive. Big send for Dylan Burke straight back down the inside. Can Bowler get the drive out the other side? And have a look at the action deeper in the field, because it is a scramble on this opening lap. First time down and through Palarolica. Here comes the Spitzcare hairpin. Here comes Wayne Burke, who's trying to line these boys up, and he's going to look for a crack when they get down to the inside. Burse again is going to line it up for a big old send. Is that Cable I saw diving out in the background? I think it might have been big send from him, nearly into the back of the car ahead of him. That would have been Ryan Jones. That would have been Kurt Stenberg. They're full wide as they come out the hairpin, and around goes Brady Baldwin. He's right on the bubble, and that's got big qualifying implications for him. It's all gone wrong for a couple drivers on lap number 1, and that is just an extension of what we saw in qualifying, Sandman.
Absolutely. Last of the late breakers into that hairpin. We knew that was going to cause drama, but how's the commentator's curse on poor old Dylan Burst? He's actually making it back now, so he's into P3, so he's been able to salvage that. It looked like he was going to get swamped a little bit there, so he just needs to calm down a little bit. He just needs to get into a rhythm and not worry about that start, put it behind him, and he knows he's got 43 laps in front of him to get the job done.
Have a look at the queue up at the pointy end. Hobson is hungry. He's given away his best opportunity to qualify in, but that's okay because he's still top of the point standings. I don't think he's going to be too desperate. I think he'll take another P2. That's probably good enough, is probably what he's already thinking about. Stenberg slid back 2 spots on the opening lap. O'Reilly's managed to try and cut his way through. He's managed to gain himself 2 spots inside the top 10. And it all starts to settle itself down. Burke runs wide at turn number 1, and that's the big risk, isn't it, Bo? You got to send it deep at turn 1, because if you don't, they'll be right on you from behind, but send it too far, it's a huge slowdown penalty.
It definitely is, but it's also an incident point, and you only get 30 of them in this race, and when you factor in 4x penalties, 2x's, and all that likes, and the fact it's 44 laps, you cannot afford it. Every time I've raced the supercar at Hockenheim, I've always found incident points are a talking point at the end of the race. Drive-throughs will be a factor, so you cannot push it too hard too early, as we look at Jack Widders getting aggressive early on.
Yeah, he's going to try and send it. Remember, he's got penalties to pay when we get to the pit stops with the 889 machine. Gets to the inside there on the 111. So that'll be Serrano that he's managed to pick off right there. Doing some work to cut his way through. And there's been some issues for Kobe Wins. I thought it was the other of the Eclipse Sim Sport cars all the way back on turn 1. Lap 1, 3 wide. Whoa! Indeed, the 85 of Tice Hodge.
Man, yeah, 3 wide through there was never going to work, was it? They all tried their best to keep off each other, and unfortunately it all came undone, and there's some more action here too. Nose to tail action. Managed to get through, and then of course it all happened down at the hairpin, didn't it?
Glenn Postlethwaite got in the back of Brian Borg, and then this is the run on board with Corey Preston. So he's just called this one into race control to have a look at from lap 1. And we'll have a penalty update for you when we finish with this replay. Big send! And look at them all checking off. And around goes Brady Baldwin, and he rotates Visma as well. No, that might have been Favel, actually, that one.
It's when your night goes from bad to worse, isn't it? You've already got the one driver, and then it's just a chain reaction, unfortunately. So, yeah, when you see a big late dive like that, the car, you know, you're already on the pegs, you can't pull it up. It almost happens in slow-mo, doesn't it, Bo? When you know you've outbraked yourself and you're on the pegs, you can't pull it up, you know it's inevitable that there's going to be contact. It's one of the worst feelings, isn't it?
It really is. There's absolutely nothing you can do, and you know it's out of your control at the point. All you can sort of do is just use the steering and position where exactly on the other car you're going to make contact. It is the worst feel I can think of, and thankfully, not one I've had to deal with too many times, but I've been on the receiving end once or twice, and it's not great.
Hodge now trying to cut his way through the field. That's Borg. He's going to go down the inside of and get the job done. And in and around that little battle pack as well was Dylan O'Shea. He's up 11 spots since qualifying 26. Jack Widders is already up 12. And Tom Freer, he's plus 10. Those are the big, big winners in the early stages of this one. And updates for all the penalties. On lap 1, Corey Preston picked himself up a drive-through penalty. Kobe Williams has picked himself up a drive-through penalty.
Hello. That's damage.
Daniel Benefield is parked up, and there is a front right tyre off of that car. A tow request has been called for, which means safety car number 1. Didn't take long for the intervention here, Salmon, but it's not called yet. We're very close to being that's definitely getting called.
You'd think so, just the location of it, and it looks like there's heavy damage to that right front. So I imagine that's had a decent hit, that one. Hold on, we got some cars in the lane too, because Hobson's now our leader. So there's a couple of drivers that have taken this opportunity because they assume that a safety car is going to come out any moment. So they're taking this opportunity because you can only make one of the compulsory pit stops under a safety car.
Yeah, well, remember, lap 21, that's the critical lap number. We are nowhere near that, by the way, but it'll then be on the one green flag stop. You get the feeling the entire field will pit. So we'll wait on a few of these guys to come in, and that is a knee-jerk reaction from the Eclipse guys. There's the safety car. Safety car has now been called. We all expected it. It was coming. And it's actually just after this hairpin right here. Have a look down the straights on the right. Bowler, by the way, has found some pace. We're showing the nose. There's a big lockup and a big checkup in the pack down at the hairpin. And I think Lachlan Capel just got into someone, and I have a sneaking suspicion it was Postlethwaite. So we'll have to have a look at that. And there's a fair bit of replays to come because there's 4 laps. There's been a lot of action. So this will tell the story from Benefield. Let's squeeze. That might be Brad Ratchu. He's down the inside of there.
Shoulder.
The elbows them all wide.
Well,
I think he's trying to redress it.
Oh, there's not going to be a tag yet in the right rear corner. Hard into the fence. Look how hard that thing hit. So hence why we got a safety car. So much damage to the front of that Mustang. And unfortunately, it's 9 over. But that was a decent old hit, boys.
That's a big hit, and it expired very, very quickly. All right, safety car's been called. Everyone's firing into the lane now. One of the benefits of those cars that did pit last lap is that they have free air to come in and pit. They're not part of this big old mess. When the entire field pits, Bo, what's it like trying to find where your pit box is? Because that looks busy.
Oh, it's horrible, and iRacing have implemented a new spotter feature where it will actually sort of count down for you where your pit box is. That still doesn't help you actually find where your stall is and where you actually need to turn in. So it's very difficult, but one driver that's nailed it there is Matthew Bowler. And look at this, he's going to come out ahead of one of the Eclipse sim racing cars here.
So he's gone for the jump on track position. And he's going to get to lead a few laps. In fact, the bulk of them have cut through. Woods? What has happened to Damon Woods?
Yeah,
he's buried.
That's got to be a speeding penalty or something, right? That's a long stop. And I'm hearing it's been a 51-second pit stop for Damon Woods.
I think he
so
called
that
it.
all but confirms that it was a speeding penalty on pit entry.
Oh, no.
Wow.
That's just... But, you know, there's a time to send it into the pit lane and there's a time not to. This is what happened to Capel, and it wasn't Posy, it was actually contact with Dylan Pereira. But Postlethwaite was the big winner in all that.
Wow, that's a heartbreaker.
That was just after the safety car got called, by the way.
Leading the race, making that strategy call to dive into pit lane and to get a penalty, and now, mate, where is he? I can't even see him. Where is he in the field?
He's at the back. He's 36.
Yeah, 36.
That's unreal. Oh, you gutted for him, mate. You know, it's so easy. You just get punished by that penalty. And unfortunately, because the field is so bunched up, it's early on in this race anyway, but to take a hit of 50 seconds, that's going to make his night incredibly hard. And, oh, Bo, there's your pick, mate. Unreal.
You don't need to remind me, Sam, man. I'm already wiping my tears away here, but looking as well, just on the Eclipse Sim Sports front here as well, as we'll actually take a little onboard look at Damon Woods here, and you can see 81 kilometers an hour, and from memory, the pit lane speed here is 80, so he only just exceeded it, but that is still enough. But it looks like we're gearing up for a restart here, Scott.
Yeah, indeed we are. We are going to be going back green, and pit lane speed limit is indeed 80 kilometers an hour. So if that's what he's been infringed, that makes me think maybe it was an unsafe entry, because I think you get away with that one. You're able, it's average speed on iRacing. Bowler's got the lead of this race. Brenton Hobson has been once denied after pinching a break back at Mosport. Is he going to be denied again? Bowler's going to get the launch out, and this will be an opportunity for Evolution Racing Team to lead a couple laps, and have a look at the Hornets in the background. It is going to kick off again. This might not be the only safety car of the night when they are weaving on the straight, looking for overlap and trying to get an advantage on the start. Look at Stenberg. Look at Jones. Jones is going to send a huge bomb down at turn number 3. Oh, down the inside, bounces over the curb, and a bit of argy-bargy. The elbows are out at Hockenheim, and here comes Postlethwaite. He's going to get bullied and harassed as well. My word, this is not a night when I'd want to be a steward, and, well, Sandman, you never want to be a steward.
No, thank you very much. You can't pay me enough, but the guys might be a little bit more busy as we come into the hairpin. There's a couple of cars here, especially down in the back of the pack. They're trying to be the last of the late breakers. Looks like everyone's going to get... Oh, there's a locked tyre. Oh, he's going to punch. No, thankfully he didn't punch the back of the car in front, and that's how easy it is.
There was somebody deeper in the field. It's the green Vermilion racing car. So I think that's team boss, isn't it? Of Ben Faulkner, who's just tagged Jake Blackhall. So Blackhall's going to go around. And their steel elbows out when they get down into the arena section as well. Capel just had a little bit of a wrap-up of Sean McNamara. Black holes on the radio. That's been called. Oh, my God. Did somebody light a crate of fireworks in the middle of this field?
How exciting has the qualifying series been so far? This is round number 3 of 4, so obviously the pressure's starting to build for people who may not be comfortable in the points. They all know about, obviously, you get the win and you're in, but, you know, this is where it starts to get desperate for some of these drivers. They'll be conscious of where they are in the points, and they know they need to make positions, but, you know, we've also seen some hard racing and a little bit late on the brakes, and the dive bombs have unfortunately haven't worked for some drivers, but, geez, if it's like this now, what is it going to be like at the end of the race and then when we head to next week? Unreal.
Well, there's a couple drivers that'll be looking at that one, scratching their heads. From Damon Woods, I just go, well, you're pitting under a safety car. You had the lead. What was the point in pushing all the margins? That will be a big question he'll look at and asking himself after this one. The critical factor for those guys is the 3 Eclipse Sim Sports cars that are left after Cody Deeth qualified his way in. 12th, 13th, 14th in the points. Now Burke is going to get up and try and run side by side. Remember back at Mosport when these guys were fighting each other for a race win. He gets down there, but Burst is going to try and get down there as well and still his way through. And that looks to be a Brenton Hobson who just says, yep, I just need points. I don't need a win. I am comfortable on points.
Yeah, he's got nothing to prove. He's our championship leader at this stage, and he's got himself an 8-point margin. So, and it being up the pointy end of the front, pointy end of the pack, that's going to make a points day even better. So he doesn't care about the win.
It was Ben Faulkner down at the hairpin because this is the onboard. Hole opens. He tries to go down the inside, and then Blackwell just. But there's no overlap. That's the difficulty of the Hockenheim hairpin. He's coming in there, and he can carry the speed. And Brady Baldwin's just had an issue as well. So
Hockenheim's turn number 1, isn't it, boys?
It was actually in the arena section for Baldwin, so we'll have another look through that one. But my word, I think we're about to fry a replay community the way this is going tonight. That's Brady Baldwin to the inside of the 76 machine. And then tags on the way out.
Yeah, just not enough room there on entry. Wow. But how's our top 5? Look at the names. Bowler, Burke, Burst, Hobson and O'Reilly. Like these guys... it's only like 244 laps around here. We haven't even hit our critical number, but thankfully all these teams, they've knocked off one of those mandatory pit stops. So this is where I guess the calculators start burning because they know they've got to at least make lap 21 that they can make it home. But you've still got to give yourself a decent car for a run at the end. We don't know how this is going to play out. We might see more safety cars. We might see some more drama unfold. And yeah, I mean, do you want to be in a team and start doing the strategy right now? I don't know if I'd want to be sitting in that spot right now.
Well, in those opening couple of laps, I did have a quick look at a couple of cars inside the top 10. Jacob O'Reilly was fuel saving. Now Bo, you saw that last week, right, at Fuji. That was the big strategy to go on, and a lot of guys made that work really well. None better than Andre Yusuf of the lot of them. Do you think it's on offer here tonight, or is this just a guy going, I probably can't gain any spots on the track, I'm going to gain it in the pit lane?
It's always a good option to be fuel saving, whether you think you can make it into a race winning move or just a little bit of extra spare time. With one pit stop remaining in the race, obviously it does make the fuel save a little bit more critical, even though I'm sure they could pretty comfortably do it on 270 litre runs or so. But no, absolutely, anytime you're able to just sit behind someone who's holding a good pace on fuel save, it's always a good idea. I've never found a situation where it's not a good idea.
So this is the battle for 4th spot at the moment as they run through turn 1. And for now, Matthew Bowler will lead the way, but his stop was a little bit shorter than a couple of the cars around him because he had been fuel saving in the opening stanza and he just had a litre less just to get out ahead of them. That'll be the question that we might be able to get answered later on. And are we done with the Logitech Pro Invitational safety car? Is that BMW going to make another circuit out on track? And now at the moment, the 458 machinist, Sebastian Vandel, he's made his way inside the top 10. Then he got deep. Then he get punted. He was in extremely hot. Just pinched the front.
Yeah. Oh, that's heartbreaking. We were just pumping up Stenny's tyres about how well he qualified back in his own rig. Unfortunately, it looked like he locked the tyre and unfortunately drilled the side of the car, and that turned him round. Oh, here we go. Watch his OG gear replay. Watch the tyres. He's going to lock it up. Oh, straight ahead. You lock it up, and that's... Again, we touched on just how bad of a feeling that is, Bo. When you lock it up, you've got no steering. The car just goes straight ahead.
Yeah, that's a tough break for Stenny, especially the way the car's contacted there as well. It was quite unlucky that it was him that went around, but I'm sure he's in some ways thankful that it was him that went around and not the innocent party in that particular instance. But yeah, that's a tough one when you hit those brakes, and this is one thing I did definitely do last year in the qualifying series. You hit the brakes really hard to try and defend your spot, and you feel it lock up. There's not much getting it back. You still have to sort of ride it out.
And the big thing for me is have a look at where it locked. That says that Trans-Tasman car is running a lot of front bias on it. So, and in the meantime, back up at the pointy end, and Ryan Jones starts to build towards getting on to Brenton Hobson. So, whatever Hobbo was doing in terms of qualifying. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, here's a move up the inside. He's going to get the job done. He holds on to it. So Dylan Burse gets the job done on Wayne Burke. So he's now making his way up through the field. But, yeah, I think O'Reilly was just... Hobson, we touched on that. Hobson isn't desperate for the win. He's in a good points-paying position. And I think Jacob O'Reilly was just like, you know what? I've got a little bit of pace on board. I'm going to try and go after this win. So he got the job done on him, and now he's starting to pull away from him.
Corey Preston gets down the inside. And that will be on Damon Mulqueen. Now, we continue to watch. Worthwhile noting for Matthew Bowler as well, sits sixth in terms of championship points. So another strong finish here tonight, and he did make it work again last week. Dylan Burse, in the meantime, sits 13th in terms of points, but a win means you don't have to come back next week and go through a nervy last race. Update on Lachlan Capel has picked himself up a drive-through penalty, and the big thing is it was contact on the safety car, which actually was the incident. Remember how I said that that contact with Dylan Pereira was under safety car? The safety car had just been caught. So they weren't actually under a safety car queue, but the safety car was in effect already.
And if this isn't bad enough, you've got to just take a tour down pit lane. All the cars are still relatively bunched up too. So straight to the back of the pack he goes. So that's unfortunate.
Point scenario for Capel, he sits 8th on his way into tonight, 276 points and about 50 or so points off the lead. That's him rejoining. So he's at least still in with the fight and can still make some time up for Capel. 29th in the running order. Tom Freer left Synergy Sim Racing at the start of this year. He is harassing Dylan Pereira's Synergy Sim Racing Camaro. So if that's not a story, I don't know what is.
Isn't it funny how that always works out? There's always, whether there's two drivers from different teams having sort of fisticuffs, or whether, you know, someone leaves a different team and goes to another, they always seem to find themselves on the racetrack, don't they?
You know what was interesting was looking at things last year, and I said this at the time, I said, look, and I think a lot of people made this statement about Vermilion Esports, you don't often see a team go out, grab a whole bunch of drivers and hang on for very long. I said at the time, I will be very happy to be wrong. I have been proven wrong. I did not expect that team to last 6 months. They have lasted way more than 6 months. And they are starting to build towards them. But that's a common thing, isn't it, Bo? You get a big group of guys together, eventually that breaks down in a big way. But so far, all looks well at the Vermilion Sim Sports camp.
Yeah, to a degree, of course. Obviously, there were some big name drivers that left. Of course, most notably was Andrew Gilliam, who left quite quickly as well. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Griffin Gardner might have briefly been with Vermilion as well before also transitioning. So, yeah, it's something we see a lot in Australian sim racing. I've been a part of it as well at Altus Esports. As you see the, I think it might be the rejoin from Kurt Stenberg there from the earlier incident, as we see a change of race lead as well. Dylan Burst up the inside on Matty Bowler, And that's a pretty clean one. Bowler just giving the room here. And look, I know Bowler hasn't practiced a huge amount for tonight, so I think he'll be pretty happy to just sit behind Dylan Burse here and just sort of ride this one out. But no, at Ultra Esports, we had a similar thing. We expanded very quickly, and we very quickly blew up as well. It's one of those things where it's unsustainable sometimes, and I think what I always go back to is I look at Trans Hockenheim Racing, quite honestly, where yes, they've got a lot of really fast drivers up towards the front of the field, but it's a tight-knit group of people who you don't see, you know, adding 5 new drivers to their lineup every season. Like, going into this season, do they even have a single new driver? I'm not sure they do, but that doesn't matter because they've got a good group of people who keep working, and I think that's a very important key dynamic. When you do these mass recruitments, it doesn't always pan out, as we see Sean McNamara there up the inside, and a pretty nice job done as Jack Widders tries to follow suit.
Yeah, McNamara, I remember started, couldn't get the qualifying lap. He put 1 valid lap time in the qualifying session from the back of the grid. He's into the top 10, started 36th. 36. He's gained 26 spots. I'm not making that up.
That's
26
impressive.
spots in 13. He's gained 2 spots a lap.
Yeah, that's incredible. Obviously, he's had a bit of luck go his way, but still, you'd rather be lucky than good sometimes too, because, you know, there's been a safety car and some pit strategy and all the rest of it, but that take nothing away from Sean. That's a tremendous effort, up 26 spots. That's incredible.
That's a phenomenal drive. That is impressive. Jack Widders will have some pain to serve as penalties coming his way. Ryan Bettis, and we're having a look at another of the Vermilion cars going down the inside. That's Wayne Burke. Gets the job done. So the long run pace on that ERT Mustang isn't perfect. It's still good enough to be sticking with these guys, and that's what Maddie will be looking at, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, he hasn't done a huge amount of practice coming into this one, quite underprepared. So honestly, right now, I can guarantee he's in points conservation mode. Just wanting to bank any kind of result right now. I'm sure he'd love the win, he'd love the podium, but just any kind of front-running points that he can get is what he wants. He's one driver that cares about points quite a lot at the moment as well. Damon Woods, of course, he's had 2 rough rounds to start this season, with one round not even being on his rig, and the other being where he got caught out by strategy at Mosport with that double pit under safety car by some of the drivers. So Damon Woods in a bit of a tough spot right now, finds himself 23rd, but of course, let's not forget, restarted in 36th. So he is on a charge right now back through the field, but still a lot of room to go for him up the leaderboard. And if things don't go his way tonight, he could be a driver that we're looking at who is maybe on the fringes of the top 20 right now, who we know could absolutely be comfortably in the top 20, that maybe puts himself into a win and you're in only scenario.
Well, he sits at the moment in terms of point standings. This is critical. He's actually the best placed, the remaining Eclipse Simsports drivers. 248 points, sits just behind Richie Stanaway. Remember, Stanaway's not here, so he's going to drop a boatload of points. He's going to go way, way back. And for those of you watching along at home and going, hang on, how many positions are we trying to fill in this year's qualifying series? 24 spots, 20 on points, or race winners is what we'd be looking at. So we do have 20 spots to point your way in. And Woods at the moment is currently 48 points ahead of where the cut line is. And the cut line is tied at 200 points. Brady Baldwin and Ryan Jones, the 2 drivers that sit on that one. Baldwin on the inside. I don't know if that's alphabetical. We'll have to get clarification on that if it does end in a tie, or and there will be a result breaker for it. But Ryan Jones is listed as 21st, but has the same amount of points as Brady Baldwin in 20.
You could almost hear it in Richie Stanaway's voice when we interviewed him last week. He knew that he really needed to win because obviously his real life commitments for this weekend's opening round of the supercars. It couldn't mean that he could make it tonight, and he's probably not going to be here for next week. So he was desperate to make it in. He knew just what was on the line, and unfortunately, it looks like whether he makes an appearance next week or not, it's always going to be game over for him. But so many people would rely on that win just to get in, but it's almost the points too. When you know you're inside that top 10, you've got a little bit of breathing space, but any side of the outside of the top 10 and then towards the top 20, you start to stress, and then that makes the last week really, really a big pressure cooker.
Right, safety car all the way back on lap 5. And just watching Ryan Bettis got out of turn 1, got a wiggle on. And I tell you what, Damon Woods is going to send it down the inside at turn 2. So he's picked off another spot. That's 22nd now that he's picked off. And remember, we've only had about 10 laps since we had that safety car. So he's plus 14 spots in the 10 laps as well. So he is another driver that's a man on a mission. It won't show it at the tail end of the night. Watch Bettis just ahead of him. Has a little bit of a block, tries to shadow him out, and Damon just says, all right, great attempt. Here's the car. Now look at the review.
And again, those Eclipse cars look good under brakes too. We saw a nice move from obviously Woods down that replay, and we saw it earlier from Dylan Burse as well. I think both of them just really on the brakes. They look really settled mid-corner. So, and that was a nice little move there, a late break and a little bit of a fake, and he got the job done at the inside.
I'll tell you what, he looks accurate as well. Where everyone else is maybe starting to burn off a little bit of fronts and having some issues with accuracy, Damon's not having that same issue. So we're going to a few people prior to the racing tonight as well. After 3 laps, expect the times to drop off by over a second. We have hit that marker. Fastest lap of the race was set by the 56 machine of Damon Woods, 1:41.489. Last time by 42.6. However, he's been overtaking cars, but at the moment, there's only one car in the field that's been faster than him. It's Dylan Burse, his teammate up front. So he is a man on a mission. Maybe, just maybe, being sent to the rear has lit something underneath Damon Woods. Because again, he's been aggressive, but he's also been disciplined in the way that he's gone about it. And that's not easy, but.
No, it's not. And that's one of the things I think Damon does very well. As I think I even said that maybe at the start of round 2 at Fuji, is that he's one of those drivers that can make his way through the field in a very precise, very clinical way, where he's not being overly aggressive, he's not risking penalties or anything. He can just do a nice, clean job and go for those 80-20 sort of overtakes, where it's not super risky and it's more than likely honours. We're going to see here, he's going to try and pick off the driver of Greg Verville there. Not quite deep enough under brakes, and he knows to pull back in and not force the move. Whereas we see the likes of behind Andrew Dyson, much more aggressive up the inside of Tyson Wood.
And I like that shot as well, because Damon Woods versus Greg Favell, one of the oldest drivers in the field, and Favell, one of the youngest drivers in the field in Woods. So that's the picture of the two sorts of two ends of the spectrum in terms of the age range. Right, back up at the pointy end of things. Jacob O'Reilly wants a birthday gift. Is it a podium in the qualifying series? Teammate Yusuf got it last year. There is so much kitty litter down there. All I could hear when the cars got down there was marbles, dirt and dust just being hitting the inside of the guards. Ryan Jones sits inside of this little group at the moment as well. And the final driver that's tagged his way into it, your teammate, the man who is just, he's a character, he's a personality, Hayden, Mr. 27th at Road America. Remember that one last year, Sandman?
Yeah, absolutely. The highlight.
The only highlight of the season. But why don't you take us a little bit of the insight? You talked to us about the character he was last week. What is Hayden Veld like underneath the race helmet?
He's quite the personality, as I sort of mentioned last week, but he is someone who's always looking to improve himself in sim racing and doesn't always quite put the time into it that he probably should, but he's someone that's very passionate about it. He's been around for a number of years now. He loves this sort of stuff, and every year he gets a little bit grumpy with his results, like, oh, I'm not coming back next season, but you always know he will. And once again, here he is trying to get back into the series. So he's someone that absolutely loves his racing. It's awesome to have him around. He's been in sim racing for years and years now, so yeah, great to have him alongside as a partner at Evolution Racing Team.
Something's just happened to Greg Favell. So he's parked up on the outside of the hairpin. And unfortunately a touch of damage to the rear end of that car is not looking as clean as it was when it rolled off of the hauler. It's, whoa! That's an unforced error. That's Tom Freer.
Yeah.
Oh, Freer. He's had a rough season. He has had a rough season as Tom Freer in these Gen 3 cars. Just hasn't quite been able to get to grips with them. Of course, we're assuming right now that this was driver error while he went off the road, but I'm sure we'll get a OG gear replay any second now to see what exactly went on. But we might cut first back to this incident here. Of course, Andrew Dyson, I think that is up the inside, and a 2-for-1 deal. How do you like it? Not very much, apparently. Locks it up on the brakes, and that's why we saw the driver there firing off the road, going for a little bit of a spin, which was super unfortunate. But now he cut up the front to Tom Freer, and I do think this is going to be driver error because I'm not seeing any other cars around him whatsoever. And he goes to break into the stadium section. That's deep. That's really deep. He just outbroke himself, plain and simply missed his brake marker and fired it off the road. Unforced error.
And do you know the worst part? He's 42nd in the points. He is in a win in. So he's only got 72 points on the board. There is 400. There's 380 points available if he wasn't to win a race. Well, he sits 260 points behind Brenton Hobson, who leads the way. So he's already in a win and in sort of style of deal. Oh my word! The battle that's going on. Josh Horton and Rain Campbell. And there was just pinch breaks the whole. There is more to that story.
Yeah.
There's more contact too.
That's Damon Woods.
Yeah. And look at the back of that Mustang too. So he's been drilled there. It was probably a bit of a late dive or a bit of a nose to tail contact.
Free's gone off again.
Oh, yeah, that's a big off. There's got to be some sort of drama there because that's weird. That's a long way off, isn't it?
So that nearly makes me go, is there something wrong with his brake pedal?
But he's pulling off to the hairpin though. That's a much harder braking zone than the stadium section.
It's a long way offline too. That's what I don't understand.
He's not braking on marbles or anything there that everyone else is finding because the speed, you're right, Sam, man, the speed and the rate he's going off is incredible as we go back to this little incident with Horton. And big contact in the rear, and that's why they were locking up in the end. But how unsettled were both the cars there, but we may as well stay with the shot. And that's a fair bit of contact to Damon Woods there as well. But let's try and have a look at this. Where is he actually
he's missing the braking marker by a country mile.
But to do it 2 laps in a row?
Yeah.
That's weird. That's weird.
Because, like, for me as a driver, if I miss my braking zone on 1 lap, I know the next lap I'm probably too cautious. I'd probably bring it back, an extra 10, 15 meters. Whereas, that's surprising is that we'll have a look at another mistake here, potentially. Wayne Burke, and pulls himself into the stadium section, nearly does a Sebastian Vettel, and Matthew Bowler, as easy as you like, sneaks on through, but big wiggle under brakes there.
Well, do you reckon if there was a few drops of rain on the windscreen, there might have been a Sebastian Vettel moment down in there? Either way, Wayne Burke slots back into 3rd spot. Bowler steps 1 spot further up, and this might be enough points. Even if he doesn't win the race tonight, for a couple of these guys that sit right at the pointy end of things, and I'm looking at Hobson leads the way by 6 points over O'Reilly. They're both inside the top 5. Andre Yusuf sits 3rd in terms of points, whereas he at the moment, he's actually going a little bit missing. Yusuf's all the way back in 27th, so that points margin might be a safety net for him. Van Dell was having a really, really strong night, and he's inside the top 10. Might be enough for him. Bowler sits 6th spot in the points.
This has changed a little bit too. The pace of, I thought Hobson was starting to go backwards there for a little while, but he got to the back of O'Reilly a couple of laps ago, and it looks like he's doing the same thing again. So where for a moment, like I said, I thought he was going to start slipping backwards. He's now starting to hold on and maybe start to put a bit of pressure now on Jacob O'Reilly. So this would be interesting come towards pit stops.
Just weird things going on. Absolutely weird things going on. But this is the live points as it currently stands. Now, whoever wins this race, you can just put a line through them out of that point standings. At the moment, Dylan Burse is looking good, and that would effectively move everyone from 5th down up 1 spot. Brenton Hobson would still have a lead, we would extend the lead, and Bowler jumps up to 2nd spot. So it's enough for a few of these guys, but just the mistakes that we're seeing from a few cars makes me think tyres might be a bigger factor. And guess what? Next time by, critical lap number. But that's not the halfway mark on the stint. I reckon we've got to go another 4 or 5 laps yet before we'll see stops.
And it's always good to have those couple of laps up your belt too, just to, if you're better off with fuel, you're better to have more in the tank than not, because you don't want to start fuel saving and cutting it too close. So if you can go a little bit longer and know that you've got a little bit of a safety margin as far as fuel on your side, I think that's what a lot of these teams will do.
We need to keep half an eye on Kurt Stenberg after that moment, driving his way back through the field. Scott back to 24th at the moment, so he's doing reasonable. But did Tom Freer manage to make the braking zone at the end of turn 10 to 11 straight this time? Looks like he did. So whatever the issue was, he's recovered from it. I'm just seeing just weird little things. Now Rain Campbell actually puts a wheel in the dirt. A move at turn 1! That's a power. You don't see that. So that's a mistake from Campbell. And he will pick that spot up. That's a send.
And he's not worried about his brake pedal either. So, yeah, so Tom wouldn't have made that move if that was the case. So, yeah, just strange to have that sort of incident 2 laps in a row. But never mind. It's eyes forward now and still plenty of time to bounce back.
Sean McNamara is now getting up close.
Oh, drama
to
hairpin.
On now.
Big drama. Oh, and it's still going on actually with Andrew Tyson and Dylan Pereira as well.
And this may be what we just saw in the live action. So if we stay with this OG Gear replay, it's going to get juicy into the hairpin. Have a look at these guys. They're all battling it out. And we saw, there's more on the live pictures. It's still happening as well. So much to look at. The OG Gear replay, round he goes. And in the live picture, the car's actually come to a stop. No, he's managed to get going. Contact. Being drilled. It's all happening. And then it still happens again. If we stay with the OG Gear replay, you'll see that he gets turned around again. And that's coming into, so he's through this right-hander. And this is where he has drama. He gets drilled here.
And Dice has gone in there. No, that's Bettis, Ryan Bettis.
So he's gone around again. How's that for a lap?
Gee. It's making me look at those standings and look at everything and just go, what? Like all of a sudden, those spots probably in the back half of the teams, all the way through the mid-20s. I think just keep an eye on them and keep your thoughts on those guys, because it's going to continue to go off a little bit in that battle pack. Somehow, I remember Damon Woods has had to drive his way through that, and he has managed to do so. A little bit wide for Borg, loses a spot, and there's another one for Damon Woods.
A number of drivers in pit lane too, so we were talking about that critical lap was lap 21, so they've all decided to fire off. Up front though, Dylan Burst has got himself a nice 2.5 second margin, so the pressure's really off him at the moment. I think everything sort of, the way it's playing out, it's all in his hands as far as if he just makes a mistake-free run, he may be looking at a race win here, but I don't want to put Mozza on him yet, but a comfortable 2.5 second margin up his sleeve so far.
So just taking a quick look at a couple of the last couple of lap times at the real back end of this stint, I'm looking at Jacob O'Reilly and Wayne Burke. 2 Vermilion cars are inside that top 5. Their lap speed at the back end of this run has come back alive. It's only a couple tenths, but that's all you need at the back end of this one. So they are starting to recover. Berkey made a mistake, remember. He might have been, within 2 seconds of Dylan Burst and just applying that little bit of pressure. So what a difference one tiny error makes in terms of it. Still okay, still good night at the office, but O'Reilly over the last couple laps has been actually really quick, and then that last time by he just makes a liar out of me, so I take that back.
It's always amazing.
Okay, so Bo, I was never really good at this. Whenever the race is kicked off like this, I'm very difficult. I struggle. I get sucked into the drama. How do you manage that as a driver when they're in the middle of one of these battle packs? Because it's so easy to lose your head.
Look, it is very tough, and I'm sure if you ask any of my teammates, they'll be the first to point out that I can be a little bit hot-headed at the best of times as well. So what I usually try and do is I usually just try and get myself out of it as best I can. If that means pitting a couple laps earlier than I wanted to, then so be it. Because as you can see on screen right now, when you get caught up in these big battle packs, we're just fighting side by side at every single corner, just knocking the daylights out of each other. It's very easy to just lose second after second after second of race time. And one thing I always try and pride myself on is thinking about the long picture or the long run and the big picture in the end. So not fighting for 22nd place, on lap 5 of the race, just making sure you get yourself all the way to the end. But at the moment in the qualifying series, we're seeing a lot of people quite happy to fight over every single position, regardless of how it affects their long-term performance. So makes for some very entertaining viewing, but yeah, definitely easy to get caught up and get a bit flustered in these big battles.
Confirmation of what I just saw on the stewards report just came through as well. Car 61, Dylan Pereira, blew an engine back at Mosport, was the cause of our safety car back there. Drive through penalty. He's just taken his pit stop. He's about 20 seconds ahead of the leaders at the moment. He has got a drive through penalty for an unsafe rejoin. So he would be looking to take as much advantage as he possibly could have of fresher tyres. Yeah, that's not going to happen for him, unfortunately. All right, it's just, yeah, Ben Falcon in our fires through the lane. And he'll take a very short stop, 3.5 second stop. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so we're just hearing there's a bug with that because of the issues a little bit earlier on. Damon Woods again is now picked off Postlethwaite.
He'd be praying for another safety car just to bunch this field back.
Yeah, maybe. Moment though. Fire on through. I just can't get over the drives from Jack Winnis plus 21, Sean McNamara plus 26, Dylan O'Shea plus 15, Teo Serrano plus 11 in Let's Drivers 9th through 12th. We've all gained massively.
Well, we should also point out in that degree as well that Damon Woods obviously restarted the race in 36th, now finds himself in position number 14 as well. So yeah, some big movers and shakers through the field as we see a little bit of a mistake from Holbro there. Ryan Jones behind, thinks about the inside for just a second, but then eventually backs out of it as Damon Woods actually decides to dive into the pits this lap around, get himself some fresh tyres, and he's one of many drivers that have now taken their second and final pit stop. And one thing I noticed before was with Ryan Campbell on the pit entry, it is quite an awkward pit entry here where you actually have to brake so much earlier on the racing line. And Ryan Campbell actually got a little bit of contact from behind and went for a little half spin as well. So one thing these drivers have to be mindful of, if they are coming into the pits, making sure they're actually communicating that to the driver behind as well.
And in the meantime, that battle between Bowler and Burke is just not going anywhere. They are just latched together at the moment. And this is that pit lane entry, so this will be, the tag. And unfortunately, that's how you enter the pit lane. You got to send it in there, be aggressive, but the guys that are out on the racing surface generally don't have much of an idea until the last possible moment that you're going to be going into the pit lane, and it's difficult to pull the car up at that point because you're committed. Burke closes in.
He's got
Bowler.
pace to him, hasn't he? He just looks like he's just got that little bit more of a pace that over Bowler. It makes me wonder if he's actually going to dive in the lane just to try and jump him, or does he stay out? They're still both battling each other, but yeah, you'd almost be tempted just to try and sneak in a lap or two before Bowler, just so he can get that fresh tyre advantage for Wayne Burke.
But do either of these guys really need to worry about it? They're just got to have nice, clean pit in, pit out laps. They've got enough points on the board that realistically squabbling over this isn't a big issue. For Wayne Burke, even after finishing 30th, I think in the end, after penalties were all shaken out, it was about 27, 28 at Mosport. After crossing the line first with that safety car penalty, 15th in points, 240. He's 90 points off of Brendan Hobson coming into tonight. But think about all the drivers he's jumping that are ahead of him. And again, right now, you've got to think about Richie Stanaway inside of that 20, but put a line through him. So realistically, our bubble driver becomes Ryan Jones actually in 21st. He becomes actually 20th when you consider that Stanaway's probably not going to qualify. And Serrano becomes the first driver that's currently out.
Well, think about this too. If Dylan Burst goes on to win this, there's another driver that you just put a line through. So that's what the drivers that are down further, that's what they're hoping, that if one of these drivers that actually sneaks in a win, that they're actually in the points in front of them, so they get to leapfrog them in that position.
So another way to think, I love that we've got Bo here because Bo's really, really good at this job. He's sat in a commentator's chair before. He's sat in a pro racing driver's chair before. And we'll go to another OG Gear replay. This might be Jones on Hobson down at the hairpin. Indeed it will be.
He's tired, gets the job done. Smart driving from Hobbo. Obviously, we touched on it plenty of times. He's leading the points and doesn't need to be silly. It was close. It's a bit of a moment just coming to the pit lane too. It was a bit of a hold your breath moment there, but he got away with it. But that's the position he's in, where he doesn't need to worry about racing people hard, because he's got himself, as we go to the OG gear replay, watch this as he comes in entry. Oh, did he get a tag? He might have got a tag. And that's what we talked about. Tag. You've really got to word up the drivers behind you, because it's so easy for that to happen. It could have gone absolutely pear-shaped, but he lives to fight another day.
All right, so Bo, the big thing that I'm looking at you and your what notes when you watch this qualifying series are going into your book about the Gen 3, about the racing, about the style of racing and everything that's happening?
The biggest thing I'm noticing is just how people are actually racing each other. There's a lot more elbows out, especially at the mid-corner. So that's one thing to be mindful of on how I can race people. It's also undercuts, how people are using the fuel strategy. So it looks like, once again, we're seeing a lot of drivers preferring to go quite long into the stint. Now, naturally, that's to try and clear traffic and everything. But I'm also looking at the gains from those that are, maybe pitting early and doing the opposite to the go long strategy. And how are they actually affected as the run goes on? It's little things like that, and a couple other things that I might just keep to myself to be a little bit secretive as well. But look, overall, it's all the usual things. It's a brand new car. We're just trying to work out the dynamics of it and just see what works, what doesn't work.
Here we go.
And, if anyone's trying anything differently. And speaking of doing things differently, Matthew Bowler dives to the pits.
Yeah, Dylan's already made a trip too.
Yep, so Dylan's been in. Bowler will come down to the lane. Burke's going to run long. What does O'Reilly do? So the Vermilion guys at the front end of town, they're going to run long. Ryan Jones will dive into the lane. Hayden Veld opts to go wrong. So you've got ERT on different strategies, but you've got the rest of the field. Jack Widders is going to stay out. Widders and Dylan O'Shea are both in. So we're back in to a couple of drivers left now to pit. The bulk of the field have done their final pit stop for Hockenheim. 44 racing laps to do here tonight for a journey of 201 kilometres, and we are into the back half of that now. In fact, we're rapidly approaching 2/3 worth of race distance as well. You just wonder.
Effective race lead again. Sorry to cut you off there, mate.
Go ahead. I was just thinking, well, where does this all shake out? What's the big thing that we're sort of going to keep an eye on? By the way, David Woods just goes and says, yep, I should be at the pointy end of thing. Here's the fastest lap. 41.194.
It's heartbreak for him, isn't it? And I mean, that's why Bo picked him. He was quick, he had pace, and unfortunately just that pit lane error cost him, unfortunately. And, he's on struggle streak at the moment, but he's really fighting back well to be inside about, P14 now. So to be in that position, he's not short on pace, and he's just clawing away, just making up what positions he can as this race goes on.
Well, we're seeing tyres fall off. It's going to Postlethwaite, misses the corner, but manages to arrest it. Have a look at the marbles now as well. You did not want to be getting offline. Something just happened to Sean McNamara as a part of that one.
On the marbles, we spoke about it a little bit earlier, and it makes me wonder if that's what Tom Freer was having a drama. Oh, as we can see, he's just run wide there as well. Another car off wide there.
It's Vandell.
Yeah, so I wonder if that was a factor with Tom Freer. We didn't really look at that, or whether he's out breaking himself or what. But yeah, the marbles are starting to be a bit of an issue now, as we see if we go to the OG gear replay. This is Vandell. Look at the gate. Oh my goodness, how close was he going into the back, almost into the back of that car. Manager was smart heads up driving just to actually get off the brake, steer away from the accident and push on. So thankfully he got no damage, but more importantly he hasn't got a penalty to pay, because that would have been a drama for sure.
Well, the Vermilion guy is now in and out of the lane, and Vandell actually took the opportunity. So it was Sean McNamara who put the call on the radio as him and Tice Hodge that they were around as he rejoined that one. And there was a call made to race control about, was that a safe rejoin from Vandell? And Vandell just jumped straight out of the way, redressed the spot, just went, I'm not willing to risk this, which is smart given he's right near the pointy end of the point stings. He just went, a penalty is far bigger of a punishment than I need it to be, I'll give the spots up.
That's the one lap difference between Bowler and Burke too. We saw Bowler pitted first and Wayne Burke was the next lap round. They were nose to tail, and that one lap that Bowler came in and got those tyres, look at that margin that he's opened up over Wayne Burke now. That was one lap.
Big tyre fall off. Back end of the tyres alive when Burke came in. His last lap was a 43.2. That'll include the pit stop, 42.6. So to his fastest lap over a second. That's recovered as the fuel burned off as well. How about this little battle pack now? Kalyancic is back inside the top 20. This will be a good little drive for him. And now he's just getting the elbows out with the boys back here. And Vitali, this is a little bit of trouble on the road for him. Sits 18th at the moment. Kobe Williams in behind 19th. Tyson Broad's up at 20th behind these guys as well. Vitali was first to dive in the lane out of these guys. Kobe Williams followed him in the Eclipse Sim Sport livery car.
Tyson's got to go right. No, it's like he's struggling, isn't he? He's losing pace here.
Now they'll start to settle down. Remember, this is Andre Youssef and Andrew Dyson duking it out. Remember, both of these guys have had podiums in the qualifying series.
He's going to get move up the inside. Pulls it up nicely. So job done there. And thankfully, I think a lot of these drivers now, obviously 30 laps in, 14 laps to go. They're really starting to get their head around it as far as not taking any silly dives. If we go on board with Kirk Stenberg right on the nose, he's looking to make a move up the inside. This will be for P22. Gets under brakes, pulls it up nicely, doesn't block a tyre, and unfortunately that's what we saw. Or did he? He got away with it.
Not him. It was actually, he had to stay to the inside. So we look backwards, but if we look forward, Kobe Williams has dropped a couple spots here. It was Williams that actually just bowled a wide down at the hairpin. Let's check this out. Send down the inside of Talyancic, and now he can't get it pulled up.
Yeah. It's so easy to do, isn't it? You know, you're on the threshold of your braking point anyway, and you know as soon as you lock a brake, it's just like, oh man, how much is this going to cost me? You know, half the time you can't steer it straight. You've got to get off the brake, and then when you do that, you're carrying too much speed, and it's almost, you just start wondering how bad is this going to affect me. But if you can get away when you're still pointing in the right direction and only maybe drop a spot, then that's okay. But yeah, it's a helpless feeling when you're on the pegs and you start to lock a tyre.
Back half of this race, Bo, and I think the biggest thing is if you have a look up and down the field, Andrew Dyson was one of the first drivers to pit. And remember, he was getting boxed about the ears. He has got a very, very long way to go on some pretty second-hand tyres. He pitted 6-7 laps earlier than most of the field that are around him. How do you manage this?
It's very, very tough. The most important thing, and the thing that I usually try and do in this situation, is just don't fight anybody. As weird as that might sound, is you're going to lose time scrapping. You're going to free fall through the field anyway. They're probably going to get past you. Make it easy and try and maintain your race pace so that you're not losing a 3-second lap fighting someone. And yeah, it's just all you can do basically is just play it safe. As I'm seeing a little bit more drama at the hairpin. Michael Talyancic almost locked up into the back of Josh Horton, and Tyson Broad in this battle pack as well. So this little group here refuses to give up on one another. They're still scrapping for all it's worth.
Can I just point out I got one right, boys? I finally got one right. I said a few moments ago, what was it, like 5 or 6 laps ago, look out for this battle pack at the top end of the teens into the mid-20s. Where is this battle pack? Top end of the teens into the mid-20s. So you got one right to start the season, Samuel.
Hey, the way this race is going, I don't put the knockers on, but I might get the number 2 right tonight too.
Don't. We will. Oh,
you won't hear the end of it, I tell you.
No. Mate, your head's not going to fit into a helmet at this rate. Are you going to fit into that race suit again next week?
Yeah, that's right. I keep eating them. Anyway, that's a different story. So, back to the race, boys.
Right, well, Horton leads the way in this little battle pack. He's got the oldest tyres of the bunch. And he come in at the end of lap 24. Tully behind him, end of lap 26. So the margin, 2 laps on the tyres. Vermilion car came strong at the back end of the stint, as evidenced by the pace of the boys up front. What is Horton able to achieve, though? And again, they all line up. And now he punches the hole in the air. But who's going to get brave? Who will step off the line? Who is going to risk pinching a brake on the marbles? Tully with a touch of damage to the right front corner as well, so he's not the most efficient in a straight line. Yusuf is starting to close up on Tyson Broad. He's actually fuel saving. Yusuf just lifted out massively on the clutch. Fuel saved his way to a podium last week, and he's still going to keep saving as that runs deep. Stenberg shows the nose.
Yeah,
And Gen 3, I tell you what, the racing it's putting on is phenomenal, Sam, man.
It's been brilliant. And we touched on that. Oh, he's got a car off the racetrack there. Corey Preston.
No.
Is he,
Well, we're going to have a safety car.
has he got
Yeah,
an
the lights
engine
on at the
drama?
back.
Has he blown an engine?
He has.
Is that into the hairpin? I wonder if that was on downshift.
Yep, we're going to get an OD gear replay right here in front of Jake Blackwell. You're going to see a plume of smoke from car 98. And what does this do to the race strategy? Because everyone in the field has taken their 2 compulsory pit stops, but we know some drivers, like you mentioned earlier, Andrew Dyson, have significant wear on their tyres as it is, as you go on board with the ERT Camaro of Blackhall, and there is nothing you can do but watch that 98 Mustang detonate in front. But we'll see what race control decides to do here.
Imagine these teams now that some of them are going to think about rolling the
They're gonna have
dice.
to.
We've already seen the advantage
Safety
of what
car.
Fred tyres do. Do some of these teams decide to make a tour down pit lane and give up track position for fresh tyres?
I'm
I
just
don't know
thinking.
anyone
Just
inside the
heard.
top 5 or 10 won't, but anyway.
No,
sorry.
track position. Track position to be huge.
Yeah.
Safety car has been deployed. And there might be an argument over what the worst livery in the field is, but Sandman's favourite livery in the field returns to the racing surface, albeit it's not on a Mustang, it's not on a Camaro, it's on a BMW, and it sits at the end of pit lane.
It's been a factor. We touched on it on the Logitech G Hub. We've spoken about it every week from round 1 to round 3 that this was going to play a part. It's almost been the star of the show, hasn't it, for the qualifying series, and it's going to throw a spanner in the works now. So a lot of these teams now trying to tag onto the back of the safety car, and we just wonder if anyone is going to roll the dice and make a trip down pit lane.
I just wonder if you're at the back end of the field.
Absolutely.
Now, Corey Preston was the last car on the lead lap. Rain Campbell is off the lead lap. But Jack Andrews is 36th and plumb last. So he can't gain any positions. Why
Nothing
not?
to lose. Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on. We do have a taker. There's already one driver that's made a pit stop. The number 8 machine, Lachlan Capel, has dived to the lane to take tyres. We're just hearing there might be some connection issues actually for Kurt Stenberg.
Oh, no.
I think he's been out of the server for a very, very long time, and I think we might be on the fringe of losing him. That isn't a slow-mo. That's live pictures.
That'll be heartbreak because
He's gone.
He
He's gone.
He needs to finish this race to get points.
He's gone. He's absolutely gone. He's dropped from the server now. Confirmation. Wow.
I know there's a number of drivers that didn't want to see this, including Dylan Burst, because he had himself a nice little margin. I think he was almost out to 4 seconds over Matthew Bowler before the safety car came out. So he was on easy street, but this now bunches everyone up and gives everyone a second chance at having a crack at Dylan.
So there was drama and chaos and calamity at the hairpin when we went back to green flag racing. I get the feeling there's going to be some more. But where does it come from? Because your Brenton Hobsons, your Ryan Jones, Jacob O'Reilly, Wayne Burke, Matthew Bowler, all in phenomenal positions. They are not going to be aggressive. And they will be fairly comfortable to let somebody who sends it just to go. They're not going to be too aggressive. Jack Andrews does dive back in the pit lane. Lachlan Capel's come around again.
As far as I can see, he didn't pit that first lap around. He last
Drove
drove
through.
5 laps ago. probably the drive-through penalty that he suffered. So I think this is him finally taking that stop, but this is essentially one of the last cars on track right now. So absolutely dive into the pits, get a free kick of tyres, and see what you can make happen in the remaining 10 laps of this race.
There's a safety car too.
Oh, it's a short safety car though.
Yeah, we're ready to go racing again.
Where's the back end of the field? There are drivers. Capel is still coming out of turn 2. He is not going to make the back end of the pack. And some of the other drivers that have taken tyres, the lead of them is Brad Ratchu. He's not on the train either. No, sorry, Brad Ratchu does make the back end of the train. So he's the first driver on fresh tyres at the back end of the train. This is Ryan Bettis, who is scrambling to get to the back end of the field. He is just barely going to make it to the back end. Now Dylan Burst will launch us back off. 2 safety cars. We are currently at a count of 4 from the qualifying series in 3 races. And Hockenheim means the BMW gets to do some extra laps here tonight. Wayne Burke, Matthew Bowler in behind. They're going to be in pursuit. And Jacob O'Reilly will be sitting here and waiting for drama to unfold so he can blow the candles out in the birthday cake.
Yeah, we're talking about would you want a pole or a win? You'd love a win for your birthday though, wouldn't you? Especially the prize that's on the line as a golden ticket straight into the 2025 season with Logitech G Pro Invitational. So,
And now they all file in. But everyone's single file.
Yeah.
No one jumped out of line at all.
Well, everyone's on the same time.
Maybe.
So everyone's roughly got pretty much the same equipment. So no one wants to do anything silly inside of 10 laps to go. So I think they're just hedging their bets and they're just waiting for a moment, maybe waiting for the car in front of them to slip up, make a mistake. But how's Woods' fight back in P8 for the moment? How good is that?
Yeah, that is phenomenal. That will be enough to basically put him within touching distance. He won't need a great result next week. He'll just need an average one. That will be more than enough. Somebody dipped a tyre off when we got into Mobile 1 curve. And out the other side, no Tom Freer levels of off the road, but there was just a puff of dust that elicited itself. And Brenton Hobson had a big old snap of oversteer as well as he got off the turn 12 hairpin. Now they get to the final couple of corners. Wayne Burke is looking to get a touch closer. Burst has already made ground. He starts to extend the margin out at the front end of the field. O'Reilly's trying to go with them. And we're going to get the replay. Who was it that put the toe out of line? 3 of them.
Yeah. They were all having a red hot go and they all did the same thing. So they managed to get away with it though, but these boys, they're not mucking around. They're not leaving anything on the table. They know with 9 laps to go that they need to have a decent result here, but you don't want to make a silly mistake and touch that gravel and throw away a top 5 or top 10 finish.
And the challenging factor, putting points on the board or winning your way in. And Vel sits just on the outside of the top 10. Stenny will return to the server, but he's now off the lead lap.
I think the important thing for Stenny is that he needs to finish this race now. I don't think you get points for a DNF. So it's important that regardless of how many laps he finishes down, he just needs to finish and grab what points he can. Oh, big dive up the inside. They managed to get away with that. How was that?
So it's Dylan O'Shea who'll slide his way inside the top 10. Manages to make some ground. The word we're hearing is it might have been a PC crash, not an internet outage. Oof. But you're right. And the thing for Stenny is, in terms of where he sits in the points at the moment, is that he's 18th. So some points on the table is better than no points on the table, and he will be able to do something with it next week.
And we've already saw, we saw qualifying at the pace that he had tonight. Yeah, unfortunately, things didn't go his way. So he's back in his own rig. He's got pace, and hopefully he can capitalise on a decent result next week.
All right, the run through turn 1. Everyone making use of the curb and the extra track area. They're all lined up nice and cleanly at the front. Nobody's sort of lurching out to a big lead. A couple breaks in the pack. Ryan Borg has got a wounded-looking Mustang, as does Tice Hodge just ahead of him. But guess what? They won't care too much. They're 13th and 14th on the road. They will take a few scrapes and bangs and barges and survive. Now to the inside.
He's going for another spot here. Oh, he got sideways. There was contact. Oh, the last thing he needs is a penalty. They managed to get away with it. Door handle to door handle with Brenton Hobson. And exactly what you touched on, mate. He's smart-headed there. He gave up the position, readdressed because he didn't want to get a penalty. So that was good heads-up racing and didn't throw away that opportunity. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, he'll get back out there and he'll have another go. More updates coming from Race Control. This one's just a fresh one, car 013. As Ryan Bettis will get a 5-second penalty for contact on lap 36. What we're hearing is it might have actually been a fair bit of contact. It's underneath and Greg Favell trips over him. Well, that's new tyres versus old tyres right there, and that's that debate. That's the closing speed. But you've got to be aggressive, Bo. But that was probably a touch too aggressive.
That's the thing, like, aggression's always fine, and obviously in touring car racing you can get away with it a fair bit, but you have to remember as well there's stewards watching over the race, and anything that's a little bit too far or pushes the boundaries a bit much will be looked at, and I think in that instance, fair enough that it was looked at, and I do kind of agree that that's pretty lenient for a 5-second penalty, but nonetheless I'm sure they won't be complaining about that too much, as we see Damon Woods trying for the second time in 2 laps to go up the inside of Brenton Hobson, and again a little bit of contact, but no excessive rotation given to car 88, and they'll continue their battle out of the hairpin towards turn number 7, and I was watching Brenton Hobson there. He lifted out of it. He's playing it safe.
Smart man. I don't know that this safety car's worked in his favour, because it looked like he was actually quite comfortable sort of around, what was it, 5th position or something, but now he finds himself back to 8th now, so obviously didn't want to see that safety car, but like you said, he's in a good points playing position, and that's all he needs tonight, just to tick that box and go into next week.
I know a lot of people just trying to tick boxes, a lot of people trying to just make their way in. And the top 5 in the standings, this is live points based on data pulled from the racing server. Hobson from Bowler, from Varndell, and Dylan Burris from Hayden Veld. But remember, Burris at the moment guaranteed to be in the big show should nothing change in the final 7 laps of the race. Now, just cast your eyes a little bit deeper in the field. Andre Yusuf sits 20th, Tyson Broad inside the top 20 as well. This is probably where there's a few guys fighting. It was Widdus again fighting when we get down to turn number 2. And this time Dylan O'Shea's managed to pick him off, moves 1 spot further ahead. Job done for these guys. And probably still looking for who's made the most overtakes here tonight. Jack Widdus is plus 21, but has penalties, I'm sure, to come his way. McNamara is plus 20 at the moment. Someone just got rotated at the hairpin. We've got a car backwards, and it might have been contact with Glenn Postlethwaite. And it's Teo Sorono. No.
Oh, another one as well. Oh, he got tagged. Big damage to one of the cars too. So Visma got drilled. So there was big contact. You can see there's a bumper just laying in the middle of the racetrack. Here we go to the OG Gear replay. This is where we're going to see Teo gets drilled. Oh, Postlethwaite. Oh, they were 3 wide there. Oh, that was always going to be ugly.
I believe that was Tice Hodge. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you'll see Anthony Visma here. He actually does this to himself. He'll light it up on the curb there, wreck the car, and Dylan Pereira has absolutely nowhere to go, and unfortunately collects Visma and rips the front end of the 61 Synergy Sim Racing car off, and he's actually now limping back to the pit lane with a meatball flag. So Dylan Pereira in car 61 headed back to the pits, unfortunately, in what has been a very rough night.
And first incident point flag. You mentioned it at the top of the show, Bo, that incident points might be a marker here. They have made an impact. Tice Hodge was involved and he was in and around. I think it was Hodge that was actually down the inside of that issue we had a few moments ago at the hairpin on the last lap. Well, he's now over the incident point. He will have a drive-through penalty to serve, which will drop him outside the 20.
Jeez, it's all happening towards the dying stages of this, isn't it? I think the marbles caught out what was part of that incident before, but how easy for us. We go to another OG gear replay. This is a dive up the inside. This is where they go 3 wide. So 3 into 1 doesn't. It's just a chain reaction there, isn't it? It's just there's not enough room there for those cars.
Did Posse roll out of the break? It looked like all of a sudden he just lost all speed just before the apex.
Oh, Berkey's managed to jump bowler too.
So change of position back up at the pointy end of the field. No, Riley's starting. Remember I said earlier on the Vermilion cars were great at the back end on their tyres.
Now, has Burt got enough to maybe chase down Dylan Burst? He's got, what is it, 2.2 seconds? Yeah, he's got his work cut out for him as we go to the OG gear replay. Back into the hairpin. He's gone for a move around the outside. Burke has bowler gone in too deep. The car's got away from him. He's crossed over, got up the inside and got the job done. So the car, unfortunately, just got away from him and he couldn't gather it up. And Wayne Burke just capitalised and went straight through.
All right, so Ty Sodge, whilst it says he's in the pit lane and we're looking for a pit stop time, we will not be looking for a pit stop time. That's the drive-through penalty. Rejoins in 27th spot. He's lost 16 spots as a result of that drive-through penalty. That could be the difference between qualifying into the series and missing out.
Can you imagine missing out just because of, you hit the limit on points? That'd be hard to swallow.
Oh, he's also had a post-race drive-through penalty that will be assigned to him for contact in that incident as well. So there'll be another one, so forget it, he's done. Gee whiz.
Yeah, these races aren't over until the checkered flag. I know that sounds silly, but, a lot of these drivers put themselves in a position. There's some hard luck stories there as well. We saw with that incident there were some drivers that had absolutely nothing to do with it, wrong place at the wrong time, and got involved. But it just goes to show how easy it is that your race can go pear-shaped without you paying, you're not in the thick of it with only a few laps to go. And that's heartbreak for some of these guys.
Well, we are down into the final few laps of the race. 4 more laps left to come. And Dylan Pereira gets back into the pit lane, and that'll be a retirement for that car. Burst leads the way. 2.5 seconds nearly the margin at the front of the field. And look at the drivers. They are just eating up the incident. None of them are focusing on keeping the car inside the track boundaries at turn 1 anymore. They are all eating up incident points.
Oh, you can probably touch on it. When you're, is that something that you pay attention to as a driver, or have you got someone in the background sort of keeping an eye on that for you if you get close?
It's something we try and manage a little bit as in the driving seat, and it's one thing I always try and work out before the race is how many incident points I can sort of get per lap, or in how many laps to actually work out. If I at the start of the race if I'm using too many too early, or if I need to conserve a bit more, if I can actually be more aggressive late in the race and actually use more incident points. So it's something I look at quite a lot personally, but I know for a lot of people it is something that catches them off guard quite quickly, and it is something that I think the driver manages more than anything else.
Well, if you're given a tool and you're a race car driver, you're going to use it, and incident points are like any other. In the meantime, the battle's just outside. Oh, no!
Tom Freya.
Different corner this time.
Different corner, but a long way off the racetrack. Did he get help? Let's check out the OGG replay. Oh, he's had a moment. He's touched the grass, and he's done everything in his powers just to keep it off the wall. And unfortunately, he's a long way off the racetrack. He's had a shocker tonight, hasn't he? You've got to feel for Freya. It's gone absolutely pear-shaped for him, but he kept the car out of harm's way and didn't make any contact to the cars in front, but unfortunately it's cost him some valuable track time.
Well, Brad Ratsu was one of those drivers that pit under the safety car that we just got. he has managed to make some pretty big inroads from where he started the night, or where he started that run before the safety car. He was outside the 30s, or I think he might have been mid-20s, in fact. He's back to mid-20s right now, and he's still got 2 more laps to see if he can't make some more margin. Another driver looking to try and make some margin in the final couple of laps. Hayden Veld goes toe-to-toe with Damon Woods, who'll be looking for a crisscross. Veld props him up at the apex, front to rear contact.
Smart. That was smart from Veld. It's one of those catch-22s. You know that driver's going to try and turn and get up the inside of you. You just got to check the car up a little bit and just make sure that driver doesn't get that opportunity. He did that, and yeah, it's going to take him another maybe lap or so to get past. But Woods is really on the charge now to P6 after how far he's had to come back from.
Could you imagine if the tail end of the field on lap 4 becomes 5th place by the tail end of the race? You can sit down and you can say, man, has he gotten unlucky, but not for a single moment as he dropped his head. As one of his teammates will get set to start the final lap, and that's Brenton Hobson, but that's Jack Wittes. What is Hobbo doing back this far? He's dropped a whole bunch of time. Hobson and Wittes are going to go toe-to-toe. White flags in the air. One more lap left to come. Wittes has got the elbows out. He is blocking and blocking hard because this is for a big spot inside the top 10. 8th versus 9th on the road. It's starting to bring Dylan O'Shea back into the picture. He sits 10th as they come out of the final corner. They'll cross the line. They'll grab the white flag. One more lap left to run. The 4.5 kilometres of the Hockenheim ring. And it is not over until that checkered flag waves.
Yeah, Hobbo just needs to hold on now. Just he's in a really good points. We touched on that all night. Just unfortunately, the position's got away from him, but just needs to bring it home nice and clean now. Bring it. You know, in the position that he's at the moment, it's a good point to stay. So don't worry about how the night's panned out. Just continue and push on.
And for a night where the Eclipse Racing team have had an interesting card, they put it on pole, missed up the start. Woods led the opening run. Then he slid back through the field with a penalty. They are going to get to potentially celebrate in about 5 more corners. There's not all that much left to go. Who is going to run another sting in the tail end of this story? Jacob O'Reilly's a whisker away from picking himself up a podium into the arena section for the final time. Picks up an off-track, a touch of the dirt, and another driver who's going to pick up a penalty will be Tom Freer. So after all of that extra track running, he's touched the grass, he's touched the dirt, he nearly touched the fence a bunch of times, and now he'll pick himself up a black flag as well. But Dylan Burse, when Cody Death won it last week, Burse had to watch on and celebrate for his teammate, but tonight will be his night. And Eclipse have 2 of the 3 lock-ins into the Pro Series. And you think that could have been 3 of the 3 lock-ins when you consider their pit lane dramas back at the first round. Wayne Burke comes home 2nd. Bowler will pick up a bank of points in 3rd. O'Reilly 4th. Hayden Veld manages to hang on to it from Damon Woods in 5th and 6th. And those 2 boys enjoyed that battle. Ryan Jones home in 7th. Wittes in 8th, hangs on to it from Hobson in 9th, and Dylan O'Shea round out your top 10. And boys, I like this Gen 3 car. We haven't had a single train of a race yet. Every single time they've gone toe-to-toe, they've got the elbows out, and it's been exciting.
Mate, I don't like this car. I love this car. I think in the sim world where we've got it in our V8 Pro Series, it's really turned the wick up. I was going to say, well, we got interrupted by a safety car, that this qualifying series, the racing's been brilliant, and we haven't even got to the 2025 series yet. This is just the qualifying series. And look at the racing that we've been dealt. It's been incredible. And we've still got 1 more week to go, and that's where the pressure will start to rise on some of these drivers.
And I love seeing a sim racing driver get the opportunity to burn it all down. Extra safety car means there was an extra little bit of fuel saved, and Burse has certainly celebrated in a little bit of style. And that'll be some emotion being let out as well, because that's frustration, that's hard work, that's commiserations over the last couple of weeks. He finally gets to celebrate. The win and in format, it's creating some good racing too. Look, I'm not saying we should go to a playoff system,
No.
but maybe just think about it a little bit.
I don't know. I'm not happy that supercars in real world have done that. I wasn't happy about the old NASCAR boys in America doing it, but nevertheless, we've seen some brilliant racing. Dylan Burst got the job tonight over Wayne Burke and Matty Bowler, but the winning you're in has certainly made it very interesting for the qualifying series.
Oh my word! I cannot. I said remember midway through last year, Simon, I said, man, the racing's just been weird this year. And it was a weird year for the Gen 2 chassis in 2024 at the back end of things. But Gen 3 has stepped that drama up another notch. Dylan Burst gets a win in. He is locked in to your Logitech G Pro Invitational. And Wayne Burke will be thinking, I could have had this one. I could have had this one a couple of weeks ago instead of had to go through the pain, the suffering, but his pace has been supreme. Matthew Bowler is going to join him on the podium here tonight. A celebration. Again, 3 teams inside your top 3. Jacob O'Reilly, the first one out in 4th. Aidan Veld from Damon Woods drove back through the field to 6th. Ryan Jones, another strong performance from him. 4th last week, finishes 7th here tonight. He will be getting closer and closer and closer, locking himself in. Widders has some penalties. I cannot tell you if they were served or there will be 10 or 20 seconds to be added to his post-race time. So maybe don't think about him inside the top 10 just yet. Brenton Hobson from Dylan O'Shea round out your top 10. We'll throw it over Leaf. To 11th through 20th will be Brian Borg from Postlethwaite. Again, every time we look at Glenn Postlethwaite, he's got the elbows out, the car's sideways, and he's in the thick of it. So keep your eyes on him as this progresses. Sebastian Varndell managed internet issues very, very well from the driver of the 458. Could have definitely finished a long way further down. He kept out of people's way and kept that car alive. Sean McNamara from Joshua Horton. Michael Talley-Anschitz, good to see Tally back in a little bit of form inside the top 20. Kobe Williams, Tyson Broad, Ben Faulkner recovered from a pit lane start to 19th. Andrew Dyson also from the pit lane, home in 20th. And went on an alternate strat there for Dyson as well. Brady Baldwin just outside in 21st. That's enough points to probably be close to keeping himself on the inside. Yusuf outside the 20, finished 3rd last week. He will be looking quite okay in terms of points as well. Blackhall got rotated at one point, home in 23rd. Ratsu was the best of the drivers who came for fresh tyres. Teo Serrano will be out of 25th, and that will not be a happy birthday to Teo. That's a lot deeper in the field than he would have liked, and might be enough to put a nail in the coffin. Tice Hodge, post-race penalty, will eject him out of those standings and basically put him on a win in. Damon Mulqueen not scoring enough points. Greg Favell got rotated a few times there as well. Christopher Ireland's just not been quick enough, unfortunately, for him, and Anthony Visma home in 30th. There's a number that we're going to be looking for on the final page of this standings, and it's going to be where did Stenberg finish, and did he finish, I think will be the big key. Jack Andrews home on the lead lap. Lachlan Capel will be ruining that pit lane call. Fire the Ferrari strategist behind that one. Ryan Bettis, Tom Freer had a drive-through penalty off the lead lap. Stenberg, credited with 35th place points, will keep him alive, but it goes from being I need an average finish next week to I need a good finish next week, which will put a little bit of pressure that we've been looking to avoid. Dylan Pereira, he will be done. He will be winning in next week, so look for him to get the elbows out, which will be exciting to keep your eyes on. Rain Campbell, Corey Preston, Daniel Benefield. Preston and Benefield will be DNFs. They will not finish this one, and I don't think Campbell was circulating at the end of that one, so he may not score points here tonight as well. But on to the interviews, and we will jump through to start from the bottom end of our podium and work our way up before we talk to tonight's race winner. Matty Bowler is home, and with a fair bit of speed. Last time out at Fuji, Bo Albert sat here in the comms box and talked him up and said he has been quick lately, keep your eyes on him. Well, he managed to put the race together this week, Mr. Bowler, and you sound probably going to be sounding quite happy with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty stoked with it, considering the lack of practice. I for some reason, tend to do better when I don't practice as much. So I've been very short for time with the 12-hour on Sunday, and went away for work Monday, Tuesday. So got home today from work and practiced, and that was it. And yeah, really surprised. Qualifying 4th and managing to finish 3rd. I didn't know how my race pace was going to be, and just hated doing qualifying. It just couldn't go faster. But yeah, absolutely stoked. Great points. There was no chance I was catching Dylan. But yeah, massive props to Berkey. Put on a great pace and kept me on my toes.
Mate, the big thing I think coming into tonight, I think you and Berkey raced each other with this in the back of your mind. sixth place in terms of the points. It was pretty much a night where put the elbows away. Do not want to get them out. Just run a clean, consistent, mistake-free, trouble-free race. And I think the racing reflect that. You and Berkey gave each other miles worth of space. There was no point in banging doors at the moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The points are so tight in terms of positions with this series. So yeah, I just wanted to give as much room to Berkey as I wanted. If he wanted to go through, I was going to let him go through. But yeah, towards the end, I tried to block down the inside at the hairpin and almost rotated myself around. So that wasn't too good. But yeah, we tend to race quite fair, me and Berkey. I know he was robbed of a win in round one because he passed me under the restart. So yeah, I felt a bit bad about that. But no, yeah, a lot of space given and good racing between, well, at least everyone at the front, I thought.
In terms of things, next week we head to Winton, and I'm just looking at these cars and all the drama that unfolded here. And Winton is a lot more of a goat track, a lot tighter. Space will come at a premium, but so will the overtaking opportunities. Does that mean that tonight was one of those nights you just had to take a result from tonight and head into next week going, there is a strong chance that something happens?
Oh, definitely. There's going to be a lot of people that are coming into Winton just outside that cutoff, and every position sort of matters. And with how hard that track is to pass, I'm sure people are going to be throwing it up the inside at corners you probably shouldn't. And the racing will probably tend to be a bit more chaotic, just because of how close it is between everyone. So, yeah, tonight's huge for points for all the guys up the front. And yeah, congrats to Dylan, obviously, for the win. But yeah, it's just about, keeping your car clean, keeping yourself out of trouble, and, just getting points.
And finally, Matty Bowler, who gets it done for both you, the number 12, and the Evolution Racing Team boys?
Oh, just everyone at ERT, mainly all of our sponsors, Logitech being the main one. They've been really good to us the start of this year, and their support's been awesome. So massive props to them, and props to Robbie as well. He's already qualified for the series, or re-qualified for the series, but he jumps in, helps us all with the setup work, and most importantly, spots us so we don't stuff up on the fuel.
Mate, congratulations. Enjoy this one, and look forward to maybe bringing a little bit more of a sigh of relief in racing next week, feeling a little bit more confident with a nice bank of points, mate.
Thanks, Scott. Cheers.
Righto, we'll take one step further up the podium, and Sandman has got all the latest from Wayne Burke, who we spoke to on a sad note a couple of weeks ago, but this one will be a lot more positive.
Absolutely, mate. Great run tonight, Wayne. And exactly what Scotty touched on. Unfortunately, things didn't go your way for the opening round, but a really good points day, mate. Really, the car actually looked good. That racing between you and Matty Bowler at the end, that was good fun.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's just good to get points on the board after what happened in round one. That's good to move on from that. Good tonight to get good points. The pace was there. Unfortunately, I've made a couple of little mistakes on my end, which probably cost me being a little bit closer to Dylan at the end. But no, it's good to get a good result, solid bank of points, and puts me in a safer spot for next week at Winton.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I was going to touch on that. Being Winton, it's not the easiest racetrack to pass. So if you found yourself in a sticky situation as far as points, that's probably not the racetrack you want to be, where you got to battle each other out, in the countryside back there. So it'd be a sigh of relief after a good run tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Like Winton, as we all know, it's tight and twisty. A lot of door banging goes on, a lot of side-by-side racing through the at the top end of the circuit, the tight section. So, yeah, it's nice to get a solid group of points. Next week, qualifying is just going to be so important. Just having that track position is so big there.
You read my mind on that too, because obviously the pressure is going to be really on a number of drivers that really need to finish inside that top 20. So I imagine it could probably get a little bit chaotic, and that's the last thing you need to be involved in.
Yeah, exactly. And there's probably a couple of people that maybe deserve to be in the 20 that aren't and need that win.
Yeah.
So it could be all on for sheep stations next week, which is hopefully I can just stay out of that and just bank some points and move on to the main series.
Well, the car looked good tonight, mate. Were you confident coming into Hockenheim?
Actually, yeah, the practice went really well. And then qualifying was a bit weird, especially like a bit of tyre warm-up stuff with the slow 8 laps at the start of the session. And I was able to sort of sort that out halfway through the session, which was good. But I've actually felt pretty good in the lead up here. which I'm not particularly. Well, I never really thought of myself as a Hockenheim specialist or anything, but yeah, everything just felt really good. I feel like I'm getting a good grasp of the car now after these 3 weeks, which is also good. So yeah, and Vermilion Esports is going good, and they've I think we got 4th as well, so a couple of strong showings, so that's good.
Well, mate, prep starts now, I guess, for Winton. We are hoping that you have a great run there. Obviously, we already touched on the pitfalls of motorsport, so good luck for preparing for Winton. Before we let you go, who do you want to thank?
Yeah, thanks, Sam, man. I'm actually off to Sydney tomorrow, so unfortunately my prep waits till Monday. But I'd just like to thank the Vermilion Esports guys, Race Lab, Burb Designs, Supernova Motorsports, Nath 96 Designs, Hymo Setups, and the Vermilion X Coaching.
All right, all the best, mate. Enjoy your trip, stay safe, and then get behind the wheel and get those testing miles in. And hopefully, we're talking to you next week as well, and you'll be part of the 2025 championship come this time next week.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, guys.
There you go, Scotty. Good to see Wayne had obviously a really great run, and now you're catching up with my pick for tonight, Dylan Burse.
Yeah, don't remind me. I'm going to be hearing that for. I'm going to have nightmares tonight, not because of the man who won, but because of the man who picked him to win. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's race winner, your newest driver who has raced his way into the 2025 Logitech Pro Invitational, Dylan Burse, and it's Eclipse Sim Sports back-to-back, mate. Cody got it done last week. You get it done this week. You guys just look on rails.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, mate. I mean, it was a pretty interesting race. We were a bit up and down. Like, on the start, I sort of mumbled that up a little bit. Didn't really know what to do. Lost the track, and then, yeah, I mean, we just sort of controlled it all right from there after the safety car. Damo got an unlucky penalty in the race. Like, he just had a phantom penalty in the pits for no reason. Like, we still can't find what it was for, but that's why he dropped back. He would have been well up there as well, but yeah, if it wasn't for that, I think he probably would have won, to be honest, but his race pace was mega, so that was good. Pretty happy with the results, though. I mean, back-to-back's nice. I'm glad I don't have to do Winton, that's for sure.
Yeah, we were just mentioning that. I think the Winton bit, I think, is spooking quite a number of us. We're just sort of looking at it and going, mate, it's just been a lot of drama going forwards. But you guys are just putting it together week in, week out. Obviously, there's a lot of the supercar specific stuff that's still going to be pulled down together. But that top level racecraft, it's all sort of been there. What's the discussions been like in the background when you walk away? There's lots of notes that have to be taken, but car pace isn't one of them.
No, that's it. I mean, really, it's just the strategic side of things we're sort of struggling on a little bit at the moment and trying to get our heads around pretty much. So once we get that sorted, we're pretty happy. I mean, our pace in the car is mega at the moment. It's a lot better than last week, and it's a lot better than the week before that. So, I mean, keep going at the rate we're going, and I'd say, yeah, it would be pretty solid, hopefully, for the main series after hopefully all of us get in.
In terms of things, when you look at the main series now, you guys have been quite quick and quite towards the pointy end of things. And there's a few drivers that are in the qualifying series this year that just had disastrous seasons last year. What's a realistic result that you go into that series now and you start thinking about it? You know, is it top 10? Is it top 15? Or you go, I actually think we can win some races in the main game here.
I mean, look, we're working with some pretty good people, so I reckon we can try and have a few pretty good results. I'd say a pretty safe bet would be a top 10 in the championship, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, it's always nice to be able to go for the odd podiums and stuff like that here and there. So we'll try our hardest and go for that.
And finally, mate, who gets it done for you in the Eclipse Sim Sports, boys? Because I get the feeling you guys are going to go back and celebrate. You have had a very, very strong last 7-8 days. And this is just another one to ratchet up. You guys are going from strength to strength at the moment.
Yeah, I'll just start practicing for 12-hour again, I'd say. So that's going to be fun. But nah, yeah, I'd like to shout at you guys for putting it on. Sim Speed, Piss, it's all pretty good. Yeah, shout out to OG Gear, Lutsu Driver Performance, 5-6 Sim Coaching. Dale Earnhardt, he was up there today. And also Zog, yeah, I mean, Zog from Instagram, he was an Instagram dog. He died a few weeks ago. I forgot to shout him out at round 1. So that was a bit gutting to hear about that. And I've sort of just been racing for him at this point, trying to get him back up there, get him what he deserves. So, yeah, no, justice for Zog. Big shout out to him. Shame to see him go. Yeah, but nah, thanks everyone.
Righto, mate. Congratulations on a race win and racing your way in to the Logitech Pro Invitational, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time when the season kicks off for real.
Lovely. Thanks, mate. Have a good one.
Righto, Sandman. 3 rounds of the qualifying series are now in the books. But the big thing is, every single race has been just royally cutthroat, down to the last few margins. Finally, Brenton Hobson loses the points lead, though, is the big thing. Jacob O'Reilly, whilst he didn't get to celebrate his birthday with a podium or even a race win, he is now right up there. He is the number 1 dog that everyone is trying to track down in terms of the points. So, hey, some birthday presents are just a little bit hidden.
That's it. I don't think Brenton would be too disappointed. You know, you don't need to finish on top of the championship. You just need to finish inside the top 20. And this is where it starts to get scary. You look at all these people here that they need to make sure that they're in the points and make the series. And, you know, like you said, we head to Winton next week. Could you go to a tougher track where you need to be very cautious of how you finish and the points you need? You know, you need to have a good race there. It's a tough, tricky little racetrack and hard to pass on too. So if you find yourself where you have an absolute shocker throughout qualifying, you're going to make your night really difficult if you need points on your side to get inside that top 20.
And a big story that comes out of that points graphic as well. Now, again, this is before, this is provisional. This doesn't include any post-race penalties. And it really probably won't shake up Jacob O'Reilly too much, but it might shake up the points results behind him. The big kicker is when you gather the points up from him to team boss Ben Faulkner, who sits on the bubble, on the inside of the bubble, down in 20th spot. 204 points is the margin. You get 200 for a race win. Well, if you win the race, you're automatically qualified. So he only needs a 190-point margin, and he has that covered down to Brady Baldwin in 19th spots. So the first driver to register themselves in terms of points and their way in. We currently have a soft lock, as again, provisional race, final race standings are provisional, and this doesn't reflect that. But Jacob O'Reilly is a soft lock in for the points at the moment. And if we can go back to Brenton Hobson, I just wondered what the margin was back to Brenton Hobson in second spot, because if it's 4 points, and in fact, he's probably got 14 points that he's got in terms of the margin. He does have 14 points. He is also a soft lock. So there are 2 drivers who are soft locked in to the main game. And remember, Widders finished 1 spot ahead of Hobson, and he had penalties that we didn't think had been served yet either. So he's probably got a little bit more margin. So there should be 2 drivers that are soft locked in. That gives you confidence when you go to Winton.
Mate, one thing's for certain, 2025, it's only the qualifying series, Mosport, Fuji, Hockenheim tonight and Winton next week. We have seen some unbelievable cracking races. We've been spoiled, I think, and this is just a teaser for what 2025 has to offer for the V8 Pro Series. I already can't wait for Winton. It's going to be an absolute cracker.
Next Wednesday night, February the 26th, the final Wednesday night inside of February, 7:45 p.m. If you thought tonight was action-packed, well, it's the GOAT track. It's tight, it's technical, it's twisty. I'll tell you what, it's just about as flat as you think. Well, actually, really, it's not. The rise in between turn 2 and up to turn 3 is a lot more than we expect and we feel in the simulation. That is what we've got on offer. And if there's one thing that I've learned over the last 3 weeks, it's that drama is never far away. When the 2025 qualifying series for Logitech Pro Invitational goes racing, as usual, big thank you to all the sponsors that make it possible on behalf of Logitech G, on behalf of OG Gear, Playseat, who give us the Playseat pole position. Dylan Burst converted from Playseat pole position tonight, and the Gamesman Grid Walk as well. We thank you for joining us for another adventure in the Logitech Pro Invitational. Who will lock in their final spot? And who are the 20 drivers who will join them in the main game? Join us next week when we go racing in the Gen 3s once more.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 or MPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. We think it's much better to feel like you're actually in the game. This feeling is what drives us as we create world-class gaming chairs. Our one aim, give you a brand new gaming experience. Help you move in perfect sync with everything on screen. Make sure you're having a ton of fun. It took us decades to achieve this, and we're still not satisfied. Every day, we wake up to get better. We'll never stop designing the very best to help you be your best. When it's all said and done, our job's only done if you're in full flow and focused on your victory. May you win, and win big.